Welcome to the AFC East Shakedown on the Mafia Sports Report channel. Joining me is Mr. Curtis, also Captain D, and Anthony from Jets Life Podcast. And in about 30 minutes, Zach will join us, who covers the Patriots. Guys, this is the season finale of the AFC East Shakedown. We will be back next year, probably at a different time, but same day. But anyways, guys, it is week 18. The Dolphins still have an opportunity to make the playoffs with 9 wins.
Over 4
Did you guys,
baby, 75.
Did you get it? And no, I know Scott. Scott's like, wow, full house finally. Almost, Scott. We're Zach's coming on in about 30 minutes. So yes, almost. But I wanted to start this show with a recap of the season, even though today's, this weekend's week 18. But let's do a little recap of the season for each team. So we'll start with Curtis and his Dolphins. Go ahead and recap us, man. Tell us what went wrong with you guys. What went right? What went wrong?
It's the same thing. Chris Greer with his crazy build. He figured, hey, we're gonna lose Hunt. We're gonna get rid of Connor, which I kind of had to because of injuries. But we couldn't be physical. Injuries cropped up with oldest team in the league after being the youngest team in the league 3 years ago. And, Tua got an injury, got a concussion, and we're just not a good team. We're soft in the most important areas. I think on the defensive side, I like what we brought, but unfortunately, Calais Campbell's 1 year and gone for us. So it's just the NFL's moved away from fun ball. Chris Greer thought it was fun ball and tripled and quadrupled down on it. And so the injuries and the softness and the inability to travel on the road, it just continued, it's just a bad build, a bad leader. And so unfortunately we're struggling. We're here and, amazing. We're here at the end and we have a chance to make the postseason. It's all contingent on the Broncos beating a team, half a Chiefs team, and us beating half a team in the Jets. Sorry, I had to do that. I got to put a smile on my face a little bit. But still, ultimately, even if we go to the postseason, unless you make some major hay in the postseason, what does it really mean? It's a team that kind of had the weakest schedule in the league, and we inched our way in, limped our way in. And next year, we're going to lose more players. We're going to be tighter in debt. And so I don't see us doing, I see us being a middle-of-the-pack type team, depending on our schedule and our luck with the injuries. But other than that, we are what we are, is not that good.
What would you say the most surprising thing was this year that you were like, you didn't see that coming?
Most surprising thing. I don't know. It all kind of was predictable. The only thing that was kind of surprising was Tua's health. The defense I thought played pretty well, but that easy schedule kind of helped it out. I thought Calais Campbell was going to be good, but I didn't think he was going to be this good. I thought Chop was going to be good, but his pass rush skills are better than I thought. Sealer, I thought really surprised in his ability to carry inside. And the guy was a one-man wrecking machine. I think out from 3 yards per carry told me about Brooks, our middle linebacker we picked up, and I kind of liked him, but I thought there was some weakness on him. But I was kind of wrong on that one a little bit. And he played way above what I thought. And what I liked most was he came out and called the team soft. And to me, that showed real character, real leadership. And I think maybe the surprising thing, there's a few more pieces that I thought that we can build on. And I hope that Ross builds on Brooks's no BS policy. But ultimately, I kind of said 9-11 wins is what we're going to do. I felt like we were just going to be soft. We weren't going to be able to run the football. So I think pretty much everything's kind of expected. I think on the downside, Hill being absent and Waddle being absent, I think that was the biggest surprise. I knew Jonnu would be good, but he's broken every tight end record for the season. So I think that's another pleasant surprise.
There you
so
go.
I would say I thought Weaver's a little bit better than I thought he would be. And I'm a little surprised that Greer might be on the hot seat. That is probably the biggest surprise because a lot of people are kind of figuring out some stuff that a little late, but better late than never, that this guy is no bueno. So I think that would be the wrap up for me.
Hooked Up Joe coming in. The most surprising.
Hooked Up Joe's my man.
Yeah, he's saying that we sucked. That was the most surprising.
Yeah, I kind of had that feeling, man. Joe's a great guy. He's got a good positive vibe, and there was opportunities. There was real opportunities. I mean, I think if Tua didn't get injured, could have put a couple more victories, and I think it would have looked better at the end now than it does. But ultimately, how we would have showed in the postseason, I think would all be the same. I think Greer would have gotten more skate space and leverage to skate through. But ultimately, I think the fact is our offensive line's atrocious, and we're just not. The rule change in the league was a big surprise with that motion, the cheat motions we had. They really capped that off, and that hurt us a ton too. So I think there was opportunity to do a little bit better, but ultimately, I think it was just a mirage mostly. So
Roy coming in
saying, I love you, brother.
He thought A-Chain would put up better numbers, is what Roy was saying. I thought he had a good season. I'm not sure.
The offensive line's atrocious. I mean, they just stacked for the edges. I mean, I think he's the number one receiving back in the league. He did everything he possibly could, but this offensive line, despite what many content providers of the Dolphins might say, it's atrocious. And you don't have a 190-pound guy with no blocking inside and then manning the fort and doubles and triples on the edge and expect him to have a big season. The kid, if you put that kid on a real team, he would be unbelievable. He's a real talent.
No, he's solid. Scott saying he's honestly the most optimistic Bills fan. He didn't realize how dominant we would be yet. I thought we would be good, but I think we performed a little better than a lot of people thought we would be. What were you going to say, Anthony?
I'll ask Curtis. So I feel like what we should have done this year, looking back in hindsight, we should have had a weekly barometer of the Greer percentage of being there. I guess you got a few days more of really before we get the final answer. Do you think he makes it past Black Monday, whatever? You think he's still there?
He shouldn't. There's some rumblings from I forgot what it was, some big time channel saying that Greer is really, really on a hot seat. Problem is Ross is old, and I don't know if he's got the guts to do it, but I don't understand how he can. I think there's a lot. I think it's a little bit surprising how many Dolphin fans are really hot on getting rid of Greer now. It's kind of become a little bit of a mantra among the fan base. I think there's a chance. Obviously, what happens with the postseason, we have to wait to see. Broncos lose, we win, go to the postseason and show something decent, then and I hate to say it, but I would think it would be rational to bring him back in that case. But other than that, I think it would be irrational to keep him. But I think there's a chance, but it should be. He's been in it 9 years. It could be his 10th year. Any real franchise that's trying to win would dump him. But we're kind of not in that category because also it's hard for us to find talent. There was 1 year after the Bully Gate, we literally couldn't find any GMs, and we had to hire Dennis Hickey out of just pull him off the street, and then we put Tannenbaum and Greer in after that. So, biggest problem is Ross is a pariah amongst coaches and GMs, and so it really puts a deep quandary in what we. But I think maybe the big letdown has Ross ready to pull a trigger. Maybe.
All right, Captain D, same goes for you, man. Talk about the season, recap the season for us. How what your biggest surprises, what your biggest disappointment was. Tell us what you think.
Well, first off, I want to say Happy New Year and thank you for having me on. Everybody on
Always,
here,
man.
I appreciate everybody on here. Much love, Anthony, Curtis, Tommy. Let's fucking go AFC Shakedown.
Do it.
Amazing. It's amazing. I love everyone's content on here. But I will say, if you're if a real Dolphins fan and you're keeping in tune of really what's going on, this season was a failure. It was an ultimate failure based on the signings and the moves that they've done. You were looking to play for a Super Bowl. We were acting like we were a Super Bowl contender, which we thought. When you add pieces like Tyreek. We drafted certain position players. We were looking like we had that part, that we were ready for that next step. The signings that we made and Tua and Waddle and Mike McDaniel, there was show of belief. There was show of belief that we figured it out and we were going to get past and beyond just an AFC East crown. We were going past further than that, and we were going towards a Super Bowl. But that wasn't the part that was played, and we showed that we did not have a sustainable backup quarterback that can fill in for Tua, knowing that we had injury issues with Tua and we had issues on the offensive line. They've laughed at the fans and reporters when asked about our offensive line issues. So ultimately, as a real fan going into this, is that the Dolphins were going to contend for a Super Bowl. That means that we're not looking at AFC East crowns. It doesn't matter how we're getting there. We are looking to contend for a Super Bowl, and we are very, very far
away.
We are very, very far away from that. And that tells on the decision makers. That is with Stephen Ross. That is with Chris Greer. And it can even trickle down to Mike McDaniel on the way how this team is organized and set up, and the tree that is the roots of this franchise. So, with that being said, this is a huge downfall for the Miami Dolphins because this is an ultimate fail, and there's a lot of decisions that have to be made now financially, and position wise, and very important positions that we have paid certain players moving forward. So, right now, going into this to where we are still in the hunt. I'm tired of being in the hunt as a fan. We're going into this tomorrow in the hunt still. And that is tough. That is a tough pill to swallow because we shouldn't be in the hunt. We should not be in the hunt. We should be in a position to where we are getting a first round bye and we are looking to who is our next contender going, who is the wild card and who is moving forward. It's just an ultimate fail. And, hopefully we make the proper decisions moving forward and we can get this franchise on the right track because, it's a little disappointing this year.
Biggest surprises, biggest disappointments.
I would say the biggest surprise was Anthony Weaver. He came in, he took some pieces on this defensive side, and on our defensive line, we were scrambling, signing players we were like flipping cards. Like, you want a contract? Let's try you out. We were flipping defensive linemen on the beginning of the season, like who can fit in. So, Anthony Weaver, this is, I believe, as of last week, this was a top 10 defense. I'm going to give him his kudos. He's made something that, based off of injuries that we've had. We've lost Jalen Phillips again. Bradley Chubb, that was kind of an, if you really follow the Dolphins, was he going to come back? It probably wasn't smart for him to come back after an injury like that when we really found out what was going on. But he's done some nice things. This is a top 10 defense right now. He's done some nice things. The biggest disappointment, I would have to say Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel is the biggest disappointment. We should be more prepared coming into the season as far as a backup quarterback. Number 3 wide receiver Odell Beckham. We signed. There's a lot of intangibles. I would say Mike McDaniel, and there's a learning point for that. He's young.
Yep.
There's a big learning point for that. It's just that if we can learn from mistakes and grow, and that's what I'm looking for in my team, in the Dolphins that I love so much.
Do you guys can you answer this question by Roy? Did Ross ever sell part of the team? There was talk a couple months ago.
Like 10%.
Okay. We got a super chat coming in from Scott.
Nice.
Scott, you know the deal. You know the deal. I'm gonna go ahead and hit that for you right now. Yeah. All right. Why isn't any of your surprised that the Bills got better versus regress? I have the receipts as you all predicted. Bills 2 or 3 in division. Horn, please.
Not me.
Yeah, I don't know if Curtis. I honestly, God, I would have to go back. Now I know Anthony. Anthony. Anthony, would you like to respond? Because I don't know if Captain D had us finishing third. I could be wrong. Captain D, before I go to Anthony, where did you have us entering the season? Because I don't recall what you predicted the Bills.
I might have had the Dolphins going in number 1. I know for a fact I made the comment of saying it's going to be between the Dolphins and the Bills.
Okay.
That might not come to fruition based on tomorrow's games, but if it does, if the Chiefs come out and win, hey.
All right. So Anthony,
next week.
there is a lot coming out of Aaron Rodgers. I did say y'all have to give me credit. Now it's not official yet, but Aaron Rodgers is not coming back. I said that from the start of the season. You guys were like, "Oh, he's coming back, sure." And I said, "Nope. I promise you, I'll guarantee it that he will not be on the New Jersey Jets." But anyways, Anthony, do you want to answer Scott's question here?
Yeah. So I'll pop it up again. Just think about being second place.
Sure.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a surprise. I mean, I never saw the Bills completely regressing. I didn't think they'd be dumpster fire, like 6-10, 7-9, or anything like that, or whatever the 17 game schedule does with it. I just personally felt, and as many, going into the season, the Jets were favored in Vegas to win the division. I mean, everything about what the Jets are doing, the acquisitions they made, what Vegas was completely wrong. And Vegas never gets it wrong, but apparently they don't know what the Jets are, and what we eventually found out they would become. I bought the hype. I bought the Aaron Rodgers experiment. My biggest issue going into the year always was, and still to this day is, that the coaching was a complete and utter disgrace. Going into the offseason last year, there was a report posted by The Athletic that basically went to like a total trash job of the Jets front office and the Jets coaching staff about basically after the Rodgers injury, the coaching staff gave up. They took last season as basically a mulligan season. They had the ability to point the finger at the reason for the team's lack of success last year solely on the fact that Aaron Rodgers got injured. They had a weakness at the backup quarterback. That was stuff that was happening internally, and it was something that was visible, not like, you didn't hear in press conference, "Oh, we only lost because Aaron Rodgers," but you saw that there wasn't like that belief inside the building that anything was possible with the roster that was intact without Rodgers there. Obviously, Zach Wilson was a disgrace. He was terrible, but there's obviously moves that could have been made. Aaron Rodgers got injured in week 1. The GM, the coaches, they never either developed another quarterback or at that point tried to pivot and get someone off the streets. They eventually did it like after 5 or 6 weeks. But at that point, it was like Tim Boyle. I mean, it was, you're not winning games with him. And yeah, there aren't good quarterbacks available, but you still got to be proactive. We all understood what Zach Wilson was. But yeah, they took that season as a mulligan, saying, we'll be back next year and we'll figure it out. And I think that was probably the biggest weakness coming into the season, is when you have a coaching staff that's so willing to say, let's punt on this season, that shows you don't have that drive going into next year. The Jets should have been proactive. The ownership should have been proactive at that moment in time and said, this is unacceptable. Even with the injured Aaron Rodgers, we should still be, fighting our asses off. And they did. I mean, they won 7 games with Zach Wilson last season, but just that
God,
mentality.
more games last year without Aaron Rodgers. That's unbelievable. Sorry. But by the way, Roy was with you. Roy thought the Jets would be better. He's glad he's wrong. I honestly, like in my, like how I saw the season going playing, I thought you guys would win at least 9 or 10, at least, like, cause I was really, cause of your defense. I'll be honest with you. Like that was really where I was leaning on why you guys would be better. And I was still on record by saying I wasn't sold on Aaron Rodgers. However, if he could stay healthy, was your best option, obviously. And you could probably get away with 9 or 10 wins with that defense. And your defense, I would say, was the biggest. I mean, I'm speaking for you, but what was your same question I asked for Curtis and Captain D about your team? What was your like biggest disappointments and the things you were pleased with, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest disappointment you hit on the nose, defense. I mean, I said it all season long, and I repeat it to this day. I mean, Aaron Rodgers didn't have a great season. Let's all be flat out honest with that. He was middle of the pack, if not even towards the latter half of the pack.
Purdy.
But going into the year, the belief from me was we just needed somebody who could play quarterback. Really, I mean, and that's the Jets' biggest weakness: somebody who could throw the ball to another person on their team who can catch it, get a first down, and just keep drives going, because that was the biggest weakness the Jets had last year, is that the defense was out there 35, 40 minutes a game and still holding teams to 17, 19, 20 points and losing by a score of like 17 to 8, 17 to 7, always like low scoring games. So if this defense just kind of continued on the track they were going on, they could even take a step back. But they took way too many steps back this season, to the point where, they were losing a lot of games early in the season by, allowing 27, 30 points. And that just wasn't the picture that we had in our heads. Our picture was defense, do what you did, stay top 5, stay top 10, running game, get something going. Aaron Rodgers, just be a game manager who can win games when needed. And that just wasn't the case. It's just an utter disgrace, this defense this year. Saleh getting fired should have happened last year. Should have been looking for a head coach in the offseason. Everything could have been different potentially if Harbaugh was available. I don't know if he'd be willing to come here or not. But the Jets were a highly talented team, and I think they still are very talented. It's going to be an attractable job. It's just not to the extent that it could have been had you gone through this hiring cycle last year.
Beth coming in afternoon, AFC East Shakedown. Curtis, Captain D, my favorite Fins fans, and Anthony, my favorite Jets fans. I like how she put New Jersey. That's great. Thank you for saying that, Beth.
Hey, real
Go
quick,
ahead.
Can I?
Yep.
Let me just comment on this real quick. And it's so disappointing to see. I actually liked Robert Saleh, and the Dolphins actually suffer from this conundrum as well. And it's all about leadership up top. It's all about leadership. It's all about getting that right leadership up top, getting your scouting, getting your coaching department right. I liked Robert Saleh. I think the Jets were going to be fine with Robert Saleh, but the leadership above that, the general manager position, scouting, whatever it might be, and the Dolphins suffer from this heavily too, is that top leadership position is, you should not be investing in an older. Yeah, he had his heyday back in the day. Aaron Rodgers, he was great. Hall of Fame. He is a Hall of Fame quarterback. The Dolphins suffered from this many, many years ago, and they've been searching for this great quarterback for many, many years. But it starts from the top, getting that right general manager, getting that right coach in there, and everything combining together to make those correct decisions. Let's bring freaking Louis Riddick to the Dolphins. Let's fucking go. Come on. Get Chris Greer out of here. Let's get Louis Riddick in there. Hopefully he combines
Curtis
with
doesn't
Mike
like
McDaniel.
this,
I don't know
maybe.
if that's the right choice, but that's all what it is here, is making proper decision-making from up top. Stephen Ross, I'm sorry, I'm going into a rant right now, but handing that game ball right to Mike McDaniel after the 49ers freaking win. I'll save it. I'm sorry.
Roy coming in, by the way, real quick for you, Anthony. If no Rodgers, then who? Free agent vet, or you draft a quarterback? For me though, just to say, I would, you got to keep trying in the draft. But go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, so me and my brother had a lengthy conversation about this on Christmas about what direction do the Jets go in. So start basic. Tyrod Taylor's under contract next year. I think he'll still be here. The Jets save $1 million if they cut him, so he'll be there. He'll be there as a bridge quarterback. What I think happens potentially being the most likely situation, I think the Jets obviously eyeballing with the 7th pick or whatever they end up picking after tomorrow's games, will be eyeing one of these quarterbacks. Obviously, a lot would have to go right tomorrow in order for the Jets to be in position for Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. After that, that's a bit of a drop-off. I don't want the Jets taking Milroe with the 7th pick or wherever. I mean, that's way too high for a guy like him. Same with Jackson Dart, a lot of these other quarterbacks you talk about. It's one of those situations where you got to kind of pick the best player at 7 or whatever pick they have.
Trade up.
Yeah, and then with the 2nd pick, potentially trading up if someone slips far enough to where you can take within reach. That's probably the most likely situation in the draft potentially. But I actually like the idea of potentially the Jets going in a direction with Justin Fields if he gets out of Pittsburgh. Bringing him in as like a developmental type of. I'm not expecting him to. Again, he's when you look at the free agent list, he's the best one out there. Unless you want to go with Kirk Cousins, another guy who's coming off an Achilles injury. We just went through that. I don't know if that's the guy you want to get. But just having that situation where you go into next season with potentially Tyrod Taylor, who we all know is injury prone, so you do need a backup plan regardless of going into the season with him.
As long as you don't stick him with a needle. Your stupid trainer, not your trainer, but
I know
whatever team he was on that stuck him with a needle. Yeah,
the
in his liver or wherever the hell, kidney.
Yeah,
idiots.
So in a perfect world, the Jets go into a season next year where they have a potential rookie, Jalen Milroe, whoever they get, if they are able to trade up into the first round from their 2nd round pick. They have Tyrod Taylor, who we know has the ability to start games, can win a quarterback competition. And a guy like Justin Fields, who, if and when potentially Tyrod Taylor gets injured, you have someone in there you can put without having to force the rookie into action before the season, before he's ready. We all talked about it beyond, we all talked about it plenty in this offseason about the Patriots going with Drake May way too early, He'll get killed. He'll get destroyed. They played it smart. They went into the season. They started Brissett for a handful of games, whatever it was, and then eventually said, okay, this guy looks like he's ready to roll. Let's throw him in there. Same situation if you're the Jets. You got to go into the season. You need somebody that you look at and say he's our long-term plan. That wouldn't be Tyrod, obviously. That probably wouldn't be Justin Fields. Could it work out in a Sam Darnold type of situation? Maybe. It's unlikely. But then you also do need to look further out into the future of if one of these quarterbacks slips and you have the ability to go up and get him, new regime, new GM, new head coach, you got to make it happen and go up there and get him.
Scott Blakely with Super Chat. Here we go. Appreciate that, Scott. To be honest, allowing players to dictate coaches and players is a problem. He's talking about Josh Allen did that once, and he is done with that. And he's talking about Ken Dorsey. Josh Allen. So yeah, he's probably talking about he's talking about Aaron Rodgers, right? And that is you can't always allow. Now you could listen. I would say that's it's not obvious. You should listen to your star quarterback and what he prefer, or like you should feel him out and say, hey, what do you think about this? But that ultimately the GM is responsible and the coach making a decision. You shouldn't base it off what your quarterback says. I mean, I get that as well. But anyways,
I know we talked about that a lot, but the whole Aaron Rodgers situation. I mean, when you really look at the situation there, we talked about it previously. He took a $35 million pay cut. They paid Alan Lazard $10 million, and they paid Devontae Adams now, trading for him, $17 million this year. I mean, of course, it all backfired. But had it worked out the way that Aaron Rodgers wanted it to, when he discussed it with Pat McAfee show, the Jets, media on site, whatever, he made it clear, the reason that he, may have suggested these players is because he wanted to come in here. The Jets were a young team. He wanted to make sure he came in here, and these players that know the way he operates, knows the way that the offense needs to be run, can help guide these players along, help guide Garrett Wilson along. help guide, the offensive line along. All these players that he brought in, Randall Cobb, coming in on a veteran minimum. That was the whole game plan there. Again, it all backfired. We could all talk about how crappy it was, but had it worked, it could have been a little different.
I would say your best opportunity was year one when you had him. If he didn't get hurt,
Sure.
who knows who knows there.
For sure.
But after the injury and him getting older, it's just never easy for a person to suffer an injury like that. And then aging quarterback as well at the same time, coming back from an Achilles injury, you couldn't expect him to be even close really to what he was. And you could kind of see it. He still has the arm, still has the smarts, but he was a little bit late and moving around in the pocket. That's why he got a lot of sacks gone. He's also late on his reads. He kind of held the ball a little bit longer than he usually did. Beth coming in, P.S. I just wanted to note that when Taylor took the field Sunday, Bills fans gave him a standing ovation. Cheer to pay respect to the quarterback that broke us out of the drought. Dude, I love Tyrod Taylor. And if I were you guys, if I was a Jets fan and you are keeping Tyrod Taylor, I think he's a perfect guy to have in, and you draft a quarterback. And if I'm you, I don't give it. If you are sold on one of those two quarterbacks that are going to be top 5, you do what you got to do. Because, listen, if it works out, no one's going to go back and go, oh, I can't believe we gave up a first and a whatever, another first in 2025, 2026. Like, no one's going to care. At the end of the day, no one cares. We did the same thing with Josh Allen. We traded up like 3 times to get Josh Allen, I think it was. Nobody sits back and goes, oh, I can't believe they gave up so much for Josh Allen. Like, nobody cares if it works out. You just better make sure it works out is all. You know what I mean? But I think that, right now it's a weak draft class for quarterbacks. Yeah. So if you're going to do it and you really sold on Cam Ward and the other guy, I love Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward is going to be really good. My thing with Cam Ward, though, I would say, and I don't know about you guys because you've been such a dysfunction organization, is some of these guys have to go to right situations, right teams, right coaching staffs, right owner, like for them to develop correctly. If they're thrown into a bad place, it could really ruin a quarterback, especially a guy that needs a little bit more to work, maybe needs some stuff to work on as far as his craft goes. You've seen that. You've seen quarterbacks go into bad teams and they just suffer, and sometimes they never bounce back. So I don't know. Like, I think you guys need to just get your act together and then hope for the best, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Like, it's obviously it's as simple as this. They just need to hire the right coach. The right coach to come in here. It doesn't matter who you pick in the draft. It could be a quarterback, it could be a defensive lineman, whatever. If you're just picking the wrong coach every single time, these players aren't going to develop into what you want them to be. So, the biggest decision the Jets are going to make this offseason is probably going to be one of the first 1 or 2 decisions that they make this offseason. Who's the coach? Who's the GM? GM's picking the players for that coach, and there's got to be some continuity there, and they've got to get, the coaching staffs right too. Like, it's not always about who's your head coach. It's about, can that head coach come in there and bring in a good staff with him and develop that staff? That's where the Jets have failed so many times. Rex Ryan never really developed like an offensive-minded guy behind him and challenged him enough to get that offense to off of being like lower tier in the league. Same with Robert Saleh.
He got you further than you have been in a long time. That guy.
No, for sure. No, I loved Rex when he was here. I have no disrespect to him. It's just, as great as his defense always was, the offense was always that much far behind. That's been the history of the Jets for as long as it's been, is the defense has usually been great and the offense has just been a step behind. It's very rare that the Jets come into a season where the defense is behind the offense. The only year I can really kind of look at and say, that was probably not the case was in 2015 with Ryan Fitzpatrick, where he, broke every Jets
Fitzy, baby. Yeah. Fitz magic.
That was a fun year for us. Just fell short.
It's always fun with the Fitz man. Come on. Yeah. By the way, Ariel will come in and saying you guys should bring back Finley and Jordy Nelson next season. Not sure if you want to do that. T-Dobbs coming in and says, what made Rodgers want to go to the AFC East knowing Josh Allen was there? I couldn't figure out his motive for that boneheaded move. I don't know.
I'll answer that for you right there.
Why did he want to go to the Jets? I'm just curious because I never really looked into that. What was
his interview on Pat McAfee was basically, the Jets were coming off a season in Garrett Wilson's rookie year, Sauce Gardner's rookie year, both won offensive and defensive rookie of the year respectively. the Jets had a top flight defense. Like we all know where they were at before Rodgers came here, and even while he was here the first year, the offense was just steps behind, and he felt like he can come here and take that offense to the next level. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. Josh Allen being here, as fantastic as that all is and stuff, we did beat him in that year that I'm speaking of, in the Meadowlands.
Terrible. Don't remind me of that.
It's awful. That was like really for this Jets young team. That was like really their coming out party. That was
absolutely
Sauce Gardner, that last possession. Breaking up the pass to, I believe it was Gabe Davis, breaking that up to get the win.
Yeah.
That was their first signature win for this coaching staff, for this team. Again.
Yeah. By the way, Dano Jets, he just subscribed to my channel. We were talking for real quick. Good dude. If you fellow Jets podcaster, so go over there to his channel and Jets Life podcast. Maybe you guys can link up one day.
Hold on, real
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
Captain. On this. Depending on the owner, the coaching staff, the general manager, whoever's combining that, depending on what you're seeing and what your belief is on what you're seeing, is what you're going to invest in. The Jets are just as like the Dolphins. They saw something. They had a vision of what they were going to invest in, whether that's going to be right or wrong. So did the Bills. They chose correctly. Josh Allen is panning out to be a great Hall of Fame quarterback. The Jets looked at Aaron Rodgers and said, we might be able to figure this shit out right now and possibly get to a Super Bowl. So did the Dolphins. I made this statement last week when I said the difference between that is when you have Patrick Mahomes and I forgot fucking Tom Brady, is that there is super elite athletes at that time and moment, and Josh Allen right now is in that category, is that can possibly, whether it be coaching or not, they can make those plays. Each of these franchises have made those decisions. The Jets, the Dolphins, the Bills, whoever you want to choose. The Patriots right now, they've made their decision. As of right now, they have some decisions they have to make. But the Jets said, you know what? We're going to go with a veteran quarterback. He's done it before. We're going to make that decision. Boom, here it is. We feel like we have the pieces. The Dolphins, heavily invested. Tua, he's young. He's injury prone. We're going to go this way. We can go this way. We can
give him no offensive line.
we can show you tricks and force mirrors this way and that way. Every team has made their decision. The game, the difference is that the Kansas City Chiefs have a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes that can make decisions and do things rather than coaching that can make a difference. Tom Brady could do it, and Josh Allen can do that as well. Coaching or not, they can make plays right now. And so the Aaron Rodgers, but back in the day, but they can make plays right now that can make a difference, that can change a game.
Well, here's the deal, man. I think most of you guys agree with that. And it's like, it all starts from the top. I've been saying that for years now since I've been doing this podcast. It starts with ownership and then GM and then coaching, and it all has to combine. It all has to link up like a chain. Right? And if it doesn't, if there's one bad link, it's not going to work. And sometimes it takes a while. It does take some time to find that connection where everybody's on the same page, the ownership, the GM, the coach, and then that's where you build a team the right way. But once one guy's doing one thing different and the coach is not happy with the GM's decision, and drafted quarterbacks or paying a quarterback he didn't want, or coach came in and he has to deal with a quarterback that just got paid $40 million, like the Giants and Dable with Daniel Jones. Like, you're in bad situations, right? Coaches look bad. Now you can't get this quarterback you just got paid $40 million. So it just has to link up, man. And that's why I think sometimes, man, when you let go when you let go of a coach, sometimes you got to let go of the GM too, depending on how long he's been there. So you can kind of like do a reset, make sure everything works out. You know what I mean? Like that everything. And sometimes, bro, it is a gamble. Sometimes you don't know. It doesn't always work that way, and draft picks don't always go great. You can have a top 5 pick and it could be a bust. We all know this. We've seen it millions of times, but you have to keep going through that motion. I don't believe in the whole, trading, for giving up so much capital for a quarterback, paying like what the Browns did with Watson, with Jets going after an older veteran and Rodgers. Like, yeah, Tampa did it with Brady, but God, that's that's so slim of a chance it's going to ever happen again. Like Brady is like there's only one. He's Hall of Fame. He's unbelievable.
For sure.
Yeah. So like I'm just saying, like in your case, like you failed on Zach Wilson. Oh, by the way, too, I would say the other thing that disappointed me if I was a Jets fan is the running game. I thought the running game would be way better this season. I was really disappointed on how your running game was this season with Breece Hall and Allen. But I would just say, like I said, man, I just don't like. I feel like, look, they failed on Zach Wilson. I felt like some teams go like, oh, we just can't get it right in the draft. Let's just go and get what we, a veteran, a guy that we think can, manage this team to. And sometimes it backfires, and I think it backfired really, really bad in your case. And the injury is not. Listen, the injury to Rodgers the first year he was with you guys, it happens, bro. It sucks. But I'm with Captain D. I don't agree with firing your coach this early in the season. I know you weren't a fan of him, I guess, but I didn't think he was a bad coach at all. I think he just got. I just think shit didn't work out. And sometimes when it doesn't work out with the quarterback, it falls on the head coach. And I feel like he got the brunt of it. And then the GM got slashed next for making the decision, I feel, to get Rodgers. Like, then the owner's like, fuck it, nothing worked out, right? So it all just backfired.
Like, I think he's not a great owner. I'm not going to sit here and give him any praise at all. But I think where like a lot of people kind of forget, like the way that this ownership type of thing works is, you allow your football people to make the decisions. And Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh had basically, autonomous control on what this roster was for an extended period of time. What happens with Woody, and he does need to work on this, and I don't know if he ever will, but he does eventually just need to get his hands out of the cookie jar at some point. And he will allow teams to operate the way that they need to operate. He allowed Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh to do whatever they wanted for 5 years. It got to a point after he missed on Zach that they said, okay, what's your next plan? And they decided to go the veteran route. They couldn't go through the draft again. Obviously, they completely failed on developing Zach Wilson. So going the veteran route was their next option. When the season started the way it did and just things were not working, that's where Woody got his nose involved. And you saw him making poor decisions, giving into Hassan Reddick's demands of a contract. If you were in that situation, I mean, the way that things were going, the season was already over at that point. What the hell is the point in paying him anyway? Trade him or just let his contract hold, whatever you need to do there. The trade for Devontae Adams, I think that had Woody Johnson's fingerprints on it to give Aaron Rodgers one last okay.
Absolutely.
This is, you want him, we'll go get him. It's not a major hit on us, which setting a 3rd round pick, sure, that sucks. But, from a cap standpoint, it's not the Jets aren't like cap doomed next year. They have plenty of ways to create cap space and not be handcuffed.
But it's how you use it. It's how you use it, though.
Of course,
you can have all the cap space in the world and sign the worst free. You know what I mean? And overpay.
Course, yeah.
There's plenty. That's why I said I think if I'm the Jets, man, for you guys, your first thing you need priority is get the fucking right guys in there, right? You know what I mean? Because if you don't, it's going to be a disaster and it's just going to set you back. I do got a question here for Captain D and Curtis. The only confusion I have with Tua is from Scott. The only confusion I have with Tua is why didn't they let him play his 5th year option versus paying him? Why not one more year to prove it? So anybody can go soon. Curtis, Captain D, it don't matter.
I mean, Scott, that's a decision right now that, I mean, only the top brass of the Miami Dolphins can answer. But if you look at it, the Baltimore Ravens went the same direction. They not the same direction. They went the opposite direction. They let Lamar Jackson play the 5th year option. And we don't even know what that's going to show us right now. So they paid him the money, and the Baltimore Ravens are are hoping, at least during the playoffs, is that, that's going to result in a Super Bowl win here. The Miami Dolphins, I couldn't tell you. I don't know why they would pay Tua, before the fifth-year option. And by the way, I'm sure you know this, Scott, is that Tua's not playing tomorrow, and neither did he play against Cleveland because he's having injury issues with his hip that they're quote unquote saying is not, it's the same hip, just a different area. So who knows? I mean, this is all, I'm going to assume decisions that are being made by Chris Grier, Mike McDaniel, and Stephen Ross is why we decided to pay him before the fifth-year option, and now we're getting these results, and we're going to find out.
All right, Curtis, what's your thoughts?
Just because go ahead. Yeah, I talked to a Dolphin fan that was like kind of gave me like a good, because I had the same kind of question. So with the fifth-year option, you have to make that decision after the fourth year. And if you can remind me if I'm wrong on my timing, the fourth year is the year that he missed significant time. You have to make the decision on the fifth-year option after the third year. So going into the fourth year, the fifth year is like you don't have after the fourth year to make that decision. You have to make it going into the fourth season. So after that third season was the season that he missed all that time because of the concussion. So that's the reason why the fifth-year option wasn't exercised by the Dolphins. So after he had his great fourth season, where he stayed healthy most of the year, or I think all the year, if I remember
all
right.
year, yeah,
he did. Yeah, after he stayed healthy that year, they couldn't do anything with the fifth-year option at that point because they already refused it before the fourth year. So going into the fifth year, they either had to franchise him or give him an extension, which is what they ended up doing. So that's
Curtis.
Is
that right? I didn't hear about that. Curtis?
Yeah, you have to make that decision after the third year if you want that player there for their fifth year.
I had
no idea. They didn't have the fifth-year option. It would have been a franchise tag or whatever. Mm-hmm. But from what I've heard, there's rumors going around, and McDaniel went over Greer's head to Ross to get him signed.
See, there's your problem.
So, it's more just dysfunction. It's more dysfunction. I originally want him to play this the last year of the contract and then tag him. There was going to be money ramifications if you did that.
Yep,
it might be a little more expensive, but when they signed to a long-term contract, it made sense because this whole team was built around him. You were trying to win something. You've had all these picks that you use. And so regardless, we're going to hit the tank without him. So sign him and who cares because everything's been built around him. So because for me, this build was a dead end build anyway. It was not going anywhere. And I would have preferred the other way, but ultimately it's all going to go in the same place. Whether you sign him to a long-term contract extension or not, the whole thing's going to go in the same place because ultimately you got to move off Hill, you got to move off Tehran, you got to move off Chubb. There's like $80 million there. And so if this thing flops, you're going to still be able to get off him. Next year, I think you can get rid of him after June 1st. You save $30 million and you lose $8 million. So there is a way to get out from under Tua. But ultimately, if the build fail, it doesn't matter. You're going to scrap everything. I was just reading. Yeah, I wasn't saying much. I'm reading here. New news came out that Chris Grier is going to. The rumblings are he's going to retire and take a senior advisory role.
Oh no, it's one of those things.
I'll parse that BS for you. Essentially, they're just going to keep going with the same thing. They're going to pump up everything on the Dolphins. They'll probably have Marvin Allen take over, and Grier will be in the background whispering sweet nothings to Marvin Allen. And so you're going to get a fake setup of something new, and then the whole team is going to run wild, but it's going to be the same, like more than likely.
T. Dobbs coming in. I find it strange and concerning that the doctors don't want Tua to play. What the hell is going on with the guy's health? Severe arthritis, some bones infection. I know something with his hip, but I do got to ask that, and I'm glad you brought that up because Tua came out and said that if you made the playoffs, he doesn't care what the doctors will say. He's going to play no matter what. But why wouldn't he have the same? Why wouldn't he have the same talk this weekend when it's very important that you guys?
He's just simply saying that to let the people know that he's being held back by.
So he's basically saying it's the coach. It's more so the coaching.
Yeah, it's not that he has really a choice. It's simply saying that there's something.
But he has a choice next week. Or are you saying there would be more of a better chopper, maybe more of a chance? Okay, I got it.
I want to play, and even if he wants to play next week, they say no, he's not playing.
Got you.
There's some weird stuff going on here. Remember, he had a concussion. They brought him back in. They try to hide it. There is so much shenanigans.
Oh, I know
and
that
stuff in the background over here. Like, why was he put on IR for 4 weeks after the last concussion? It doesn't make any sense. There's a lot of stuff, and I wonder if they're going to try to get out from his contract. They don't want him to get extra hurt because that might lock him in and not being able to get rid of him after June.
I brung that up, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, yeah." Remember when I said this, and I think you remember, Captain D and Curtis. I mentioned this. Now, of course, I could be wrong. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but the NFL, trust me, they do not want those. And I said it before. They do not want those type of concussions. Concussions happen all the time. We don't even hear about some of them because they're so, they're just not on the field. The guy will go out. You just need a head injury, right? Like, it's not even a guy you don't even know, right? Whatever. But Tua's concussions are so damning to the NFL because he's on the field. He's, fencing. And it's a bad look for the NFL. I said I would not be shocked if the NFL, and I know they have no say. They can't because the NFLPA. But trust me, the NFL has say. Roger Goodell 100% has say, and he works with the owners. And I promise you that they had some talk with the Dolphins about sitting Tua a little bit longer on this concussion that he had the last one. And sure enough, he's out 4 weeks. He's out a long fucking time. That's not normal for concussions. Most time it's like a week, 2 weeks. Most guys come back the following week. So I just feel like, look, man, with Tua's concussion history, I feel like the Dolphins may be with the history of injuries itself that he's had since high school, that the Dolphins could potentially try to find a way out with the injury settlement. I would definitely, if I'm the Dolphins, look at that, because the problem is this: I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but like, if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm like, can we rely on this guy to be healthy next season?
Wait, hold on, wait.
Go ahead,
wait a minute.
Yeah,
the Dolphins initially, when he was out those 4 weeks, I mean, you have to look at the situation. I mean, the whole fencing in his hands, the way he suffered a major concussion.
Oh yeah.
Why not? If you're the Dolphins and you're looking at, you've invested this amount of money into this player and he's your future quarterback, of course you're gonna hold him out for. I didn't see anything wrong with that. I'm actually surprised that he even came back this season.
But they rushed him out there when he got a concussion against us 2 years ago.
Well,
you had no problem there rushing him back out.
But hold on, that was that.
Come on,
really quick.
Really, Captain D, you remember that? All right,
I do remember that. That play did not look as worse as what he experienced in Buffalo a couple years later. We didn't know the
Cincy game.
The Cincy game, that's understandable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he wasn't out 4 weeks.
But you're going back in the past, and I'm looking now at the injury that he sustained in the Bills after all those concussions. Right now, going forward, and what he displayed going on, you were like, "Hey, wait a minute! This guy's had a couple concussions now. We need to slow this down. Let's put him on IR for a couple weeks."
Yeah, I'm with you.
But I think with this injury now, maybe he's having some discomfort in his hip. We don't know. It doesn't even matter. It really doesn't even matter right now. It really doesn't.
Yeah. I'm with you.
As far as the Dolphins, I think you're looking at that is that they're not going to let us know the real details of the injury of is it, we know it's the same hip. We don't know. We're not doctors here. And I'm not going to go back and forth about what the injury is and what it isn't. But we know it's the hip. We know he suffered a major hip injury in college. But going forward, he's hurt.
So let me tell. So if you rewind, Captain D, on Tua's, I get what you're saying with the hip. It's totally different. It's not a concussion thing, whatever. But if you go back in the history of time for Tua, and concussion, let's stay on the concussion thing. He got it. There's no doubt he got it against us a couple years back, 3 years ago, right? That was not a back injury. Let's cut the bullshit. He had a concussion that was really bad. I showed Curtis Nyheim Hines have the same injury, and it was remember that could not stand up, could not get his Could his balance? That is not a back. That's a concussion. You guys let him play in the second half. Clearly wrong by your team, and that's why. Why do you think he got a concussion the very following week? Which they say is happens all the time when you get a concussion the week before. You're susceptible of getting it again. He got it versus Cincinnati the very following week. That's when the all uproar was. They lied, right? Now they sat him out 2 games. Whoa. They sat him out. They sat him out 3 weeks. Okay, fine. He had back injury. We'll just stick with the back injury. Let's just say back injury. He had severe back.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. Go back. You better go back and look at that replay, pal. But okay, I'll give you another one, Captain D. He got a concussion in a game where he went back in it. And what season was that, Curtis? And then they winded up benching him for the rest of the season. And nobody even talked about it. It didn't look bad. It wasn't fencing. He never even returned the whole season. It was like 4 games. Remember that, Curtis? Against was it Green Bay or Minnesota?
22.
You remember that, Captain D, right? He had a concussion. He played the game, and then afterwards they said, "Oh, he had a concussion," and now he missed the whole rest of the season. You remember that, Captain D? He wasn't even fencing. Wasn't even fencing.
Skyler took over.
Yes, that's when matter of fact, when you guys played us in the playoffs, when Skylar Thompson was your quarterback in the playoffs in that year. Remember? So I'm just saying, like that. It's been a major issue with him in that. That's all I'm saying.
What they give us to the public as far as what injuries are and what we actually know what is going on, I know nothing.
I'm with you. I'm with you. But do your eyes don't lie? We see what we see.
The previous injuries that you were talking about, my eyes, didn't show what was as bad as was going on afterwards. But I go by what they tell me.
I get you. But what they tell you, I hear a lot of things too. And like you said, they're going to tell you one thing. It don't mean it's true, right? Like they do. And I am with you. Teams do cover injuries up all the time. I am with you.
When you're getting carted off or getting physically escorted off the field, those are, versus, well, hey, I saw Nick Bosa against us take a headshot that I was like, wow, like, oh my God, like that looked crazy. You know what I mean? And he came back in the game.
Look, I'm also a realist. Josh Allen this year took a massive hit and was knocked out. And you know what he said afterwards? It was his elbow or something. Bro, he was knocked out. It was clear as day. He had a concussion. And they let him play. They let him stay. He was fine. He wasn't even in concussion protocol. Everybody saw it. He was knocked out. His head hit the turf so hard, dude. Clear as day. I forget what game that was, but he was knocked out. No, listen, the NFL teams they're going to play the superstars. They're going to sometimes bypass some of those injuries. They're going to say it's whatever it is. But I'm just saying, I don't think for a minute that the NFL doesn't have some sort of say in some of this. I believe they do, and I believe in certain cases they absolutely do. There's guys that have been blacklisted from the NFL that can't return. There's coaches that are blacklisted that can't return. Ray Rice has never been back on an NFL team when he had that incident, and he was more than welcome. But teams aren't going to touch that, and the NFL doesn't want that. And coaches like John Gruden probably will never, even though there's rumors, he'll never be back in the NFL. He's trying to say, never. So trust me, the NFL has a lot of power. It's ran by the owners. John Goodell works for the owners. It's a big, big money business, and they don't want shit fucking it up. That's all my point is. And I could be totally wrong, Captain D, on this situation, but I just look at it like that.
For Tua to retire many
he should.
Ago.
He should. He
absolutely should. He is not. And he is not. He is still kept playing, and now he is out due to a hip injury, quote unquote hip injury. But I've advocated for him to retire after those head injuries. So I'm not sitting here saying that this guy should be still playing in the NFL. I think he should be retired, but
yeah, but that's a choice, like you said. Let's get to last week's game, man, because we went on this subject a little bit long. So let's get on the Last week's game, we'll start with the Dolphins beating the Browns 20-3. Exciting game there. Curtis, what's your thoughts on that 23 game?
I actually hear Dolphins fans saying that was an amazing win. It was one of the best road wins, most important wins.
Franchise history, right?
Yeah, no, we're not franchise, but recent. It's like DTR had 4 intentional groundings. He's not a professional quarterback, at least not now. The Jerry Jeudy just dropped the ball, was like insanely poor and inconsistent. Ward went down. They had no cornerbacks. So, it was a big win. It's a good win, but it's a terrible team. And I don't know, people the week before were raving about how we ran the football against the 49ers. And I said, look, this is not portable. You had Bosa's half a man, nobody on the front. You got Warner at the linebacker position, nobody else. This is just a thing where you got a lot of space and fast guy, Achane's a stud, and he made a lot out. And next week I said, it's probably not going to be that way. And it wasn't. So we won the game. You had to win the game. I don't know how much more you can make out of it. They were terrible. They beat themselves as much as, Ford, the top running back, went down, so it was 13-3. And then we get the late touchdown, but it was us, we're supposed to be a real team, and it wasn't even cold. It was windy. Yeah, that's a deal in the rain. But they had literally no offense. And so it was a decent win, Yeah. I thought maybe they had a chance to win with Tua out. I think if Tua had been in there, we'd have destroyed them. We'd have liquefied them because they just didn't have the cornerbacks. So it was a cute win. It was cute, but I think people just made a little bit too much out of it. It's a little hype factor 5 stuff. Every time we do something small, it becomes, we're going to the show. So that's really all I got to say. That's all I got to say about as far as going. All I got to say about
Captain D, man. What do you got to say about that game, man? You did what you had to do, right?
I hate to put it in those words, but shout out to Snoop Huntley. He had a good game. You know what I mean? That was 22 of 26. He had a running touchdown and a throwing touchdown. You gotta give some respect where respect is due. You know what I mean? Dotson played well. He stepped in for Anthony Walker. You know what I mean?
We went against a 4-string quarterback.
we did, you know what I mean? And that's why I say, we did what we had to do. You know what I mean? Like the intangibles were there. It wasn't pretty. It's not something that you're just like we're beaters, but for where we're at right now on the defensive side, how we're decimated with injuries, Anthony Walker, Jalen Phillips, Chubbs is out. You know what I mean? Fuller's out. You know what I mean? We still got guys that are playing for this team, and that's important. You know what I mean? That's important. That stands for something. And that should stand for something. You know what I mean? Calais Campbell still fucking showing his ass. You know what I mean? Sealer still going in there and digging. He's digging trenches right now. You know what I mean? So these are all great things. You know what I mean? It might stand for nothing this season. You know what I mean? Come Sunday, but it shows for something in this team. They're still playing for something. And I applaud that. You know what I mean? Huntley, like I said, showed out well. Jonnu Smith, great game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It shows for something. You can come out here and rag on the team and say, you know what, you beat up on a bad Browns team. We did, but we could have fucking lost. And we showed up. We showed something. We showed some substance, and that's something going into next season.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, I'm with you there, Captain D. And the one thing I'll say about that game is, holy crap, their quarterback is awful. I've never seen so many intentional groundings by a quarterback in Cleveland. They're not even starting him today. I think it's Zappy. Zappy's in. They benched him. But I would say this: like it would have been interesting to see how that game went with Winston. I will say that, but. You got to listen. You got to take the wins for what you got. You got to take them. No matter how you get them, a win is a win. It keeps the Dolphins in a fighting chance. I thought that, I will say this about the Dolphins. I feel like the defense has really stepped up over the last month and a half, maybe even 2 months. They're playing at a pretty high level considering how they started. I don't think they started too great in the season, but the defense is, I feel like, an A chain is what is keeping the Dolphins afloat over the past month. That's how I see it. I could be wrong. What do you think, Captain D? Is that a wrong take that your defense and A chain is kind of what? And I would say your tight end too. It's been really your bright spots. And I'm sure I'm missing some players there too. But what do you feel about that?
I think tight end has been a great spot. You know what I mean? Jonnu Smith. Obviously, they've taken away some stuff over top with us with Tyreek, and obviously Waddle is hurt. But I think you got to take your hat off. This team could have decimated from the injuries, and it could have been a lot worse. We could have been looking at a Browns team as far as not as many wins, but this team has at least showed something, and that they're still playing for this coach Mike McDaniel. And yes, the playoffs are a pipe dream away, and yes, this season is a shortcoming, but you have to put some type of positivity into this season and say, hey, there's some things that we can look into this and build. Because if you're a fan of this franchise and you believe in the Dolphins, and whether it might be who's the leadership of this franchise, this is a positive thing. And I've been through some horrible seasons and horrible leadership. So you have to look in some positivity here and say there's room for improvement, change. Yes, our vision is not what it wanted to be, but let's make some positive changes, build off of this, and let's keep going.
I spoke too soon, by the way, Captain D. Zappy got benched.
He threw a pick six on his first drive and hasn't done anything since.
Yeah. Oh, yikes. Scott Blakely logos in the wrong place. Screw my head. Yeah. Hey, so guess who's here? Mr. Zach. Zach, man, thank you for joining us on this finale of the AFC Shakedown. We already went through all the teams pretty much. I'm not going to brag on my team. That's the only reason I haven't talked about my team. But let's talk about your team. I want to know, and I asked everyone the same thing. Yeah, we have to. I want to know your what was your biggest disappointments and your biggest surprises of the 2024 NFL season?
Jets fan, man. This is awful. I would say the biggest disappointment is by far the lack of improvement. New head coach, obviously, new regime completely. It wasn't going to be pretty, and I think everybody knew that. This roster is not built to win right now, today, this year. Patriots legend Kyle Van Noy. This roster is not built to win right now, but I believed in Mayo, and it's just gone so much worse than I ever could have expected. There has really been no culture. There's been no improvement. It feels like the exact opposite. The team feels like they've gotten worse week in and week out. On the field, it's bad. Off the field, it might be worse. Gerard Mayo, after every single game this season, I still don't think so. But Gerard Mayo, after every single game this season, has said something to the press, or at least it feels like every game, has said something to the press that he then took back the next day because he said it and it was stupid and it was wrong and it was throwing his team under the bus. And you just can't have that. You can't have a team that is so bad on the field and the coaching product is bad on the field. Everything is awful on the field, and it is maybe even worse off the field just because of what they're saying to the public. Again, as kind of Roy points out, we knew it was going to be a bad year record-wise. What, their ceiling, maybe 6 wins? Ceiling. I'm not saying like I thought they were going to get 6 wins. I'm not saying I thought they were going to get 6 wins. Ceiling, 6 wins. They are... That's not it, though. They have not improved at all. They're throwing everybody under the bus. I mean, fans, I don't know if you guys saw the thing like with Jelani Tavai. If you guys didn't see that, he basically went on a radio show, and he was asked about how he feels about fans booing, because the Boo Birds were out last Saturday when the Patriots played, and
it was terrible
in a half full stadium. And you know what, Jelani Tavai, you know what he said? Fans need to know their place. Fans, fans are the ones who are paying. I mean, really not this year because the team has been so bad that ticket prices have been cheap, but are paying a disgusting amount of money for tickets, for concessions, for merchandise. They are paying your salary. They are paying for the organization as a whole to exist. But they need to know their place. I hate it. On the field, they can't do anything. Off the field, they might be worse. That's the biggest disappointment, is the lack of improvement and the lack of a culture that is being put in place. The lack of everything. Really, there's been nothing. And back to Tavai, I mean, he said again with regarding Gerard Mayo, and because fans were booing him more specifically, chanting "Fire Mayo." He said, "Look at Detroit with Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell went 3-13 or whatever it was in his first season. Mm-hmm. Dan Campbell put in a culture, and you know what else Dan Campbell did? Dan Campbell in his first training camp, after his first training camp, before the season started, cut former second-round pick by the Lions, Jelani Tavai. Like, what are we doing here? The Patriots think that they can be, this Dan Campbell, he's so good, and Gerard Mayo also played football, so he's Dan Campbell. He's done nothing to prove that. You cannot point to a single thing. And again, I believed in Gerard Mayo, and I still want to believe in Gerard Mayo, especially because I think he's going to be the head coach of this football team next year. But
you think he will? You still think that's the case?
I think so. It's 60-40 for me right now. I don't think he should be.
I think based just on what you're saying, like the writing's kind of on the wall a little bit. It just seems like things have gotten way worse than it was in the beginning of the season, and that immediately spills that there's a culture issue, and that's usually what gets a coach fired.
But Kraft had, and also I do want to say this, it's not entirely on Mayo, because he was chosen to be the next head coach of the New England Patriots last year as obviously former player, but somebody who had only been coaching for 5 years and was a linebackers coach and kind of an assistant defensive coordinator unofficially, but it was not expected that he was going to be the head coach this year. It was kind of, he would still be what he was this year and then maybe take over next season. So this isn't all on him. He was inexperienced. He was not qualified to get this job. He wasn't really expecting to get this job, I would say, yet. But then he did. And
wasn't it in his contract though? I heard from what I heard before. So they had to have him as the head coach no matter what. Okay.
It was in his contract. It was just that they the way they had it set up, they believed that it wouldn't be this year, it'd be next year. And then last year happened where they're 4-13 and everything's bad, and then they fire Bill, so Gerard's next up. That's not how they expected it would be. But Anthony, kind of back to what you said, Kraft, I think he's a great owner. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he handpicked Gerard Mayo 5 years ago I think on Gerard Mayo's first year coaching, he handpicked Gerard Mayo. I would be kind of surprised if he fires Gerard Mayo that quickly. He and I haven't seen anybody really say this, but I think a part of what plays into it could be the fact that he is not yet in the Hall of Fame somehow, and the coaches that he has hired are both future Hall of Fame coaches, and maybe he wants to stick around for another year with Mayo, or the two coaches before Mayo. Maybe he wants to stick around another year with Mayo, just in case he turns into something. I don't know that.
What do you think about Dobbs coming and saying Vrabel will be going to the Patriots? Is my bet.
It would be better than what they
I
had.
think I honestly think they missed the ball on that one.
Let me hold on. Wait.
I think if they fire Mayo, it's going to be Vrabel.
No, wait a minute. Are we really having this conversation right now? I'm sorry. You have a rookie fucking head coach and a rookie quarterback that you're still trying to find out. Let's pump the fucking brakes here. The Patriots had a fucking dynasty for God knows how long, and now they're trying to figure out life past Brady and Belichick. It's gonna take time. Join the fucking club.
Here's the thing, though.
Here's the thing. So here's what I'll say, though.
I want to wait real quick. You just mind if I real quick?
Sorry.
Name one thing that Gerard Mayo does well. One.
See, I don't know the team that well, so I'm not going to answer it.
It's gonna take time. It's gonna take time. You have to wait and see, and you can evaluate
Anthony,
after.
I'll let you, and then I'm gonna But Anthony, I'll let you say what you wanted to say, and then I'll.
So here's what I'd say right now. I think Gerard Mayo has had his opportunity here. I understand what you're saying, preach patience, so on and so forth. Rookie quarterback, rookie coach. But the problem is, like Zach was mentioning, the culture there just seems like, even players are saying out in the locker room. I think it was Keon White or whatever it was that went out and basically pulled out that changes have to be made. I understand players kind of do that when they're grumpy and they're losing regardless. But the Patriots find themselves in a unique situation with a quarterback that looks promising, and they're going to likely have the first overall pick unless – for whatever reason they win tomorrow. They're going to have the first overall pick. Going into this whole season, a big candidate that we've all been talking about is Ben Johnson. I see you on Zach on social media kind of preaching it. So. And I honestly, when you were talking about that, it makes the most sense for Ben Johnson to go to a system, have his first year with a quarterback that we've already seen what he can do. Obviously, we got to see more. And a coach who's done successful things on offense, having the ability to have his pick of the litter of a top overall pick, trade back, whatever it might be. I honestly think this is a situation where you act proactively and understand that the culture seems like it's had some issues and things need to be shaken up. They went with Gerard Mayo because they wanted to keep that Belichick type of situation kind of moving forward. And I do think if they were going to do that at the time, it would have been smart to hire Vrabel. A year later, I think you kind of shift gears a little bit here and move on from what I believe was a mistake with Gerard Mayo.
You can't waste another year.
Go ahead.
I need to. He doesn't know that he's my mentor. I need to go to Curtis. I need to hear what you're saying on this. Curtis. I need to hear you right now.
Oh boy!
Please don't disappoint me. Hold on.
I could talk about this all day. By the way,
I think that look.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I used to remember it, but
I love this.
In Latin, it says, "Fortune favors the bold," and so you could play the conservative road and stick with Mayo. But if you were to get a guy, from Detroit,
backfired on you.
So
he's disappointing you, Captain D, isn't he?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The thing is, Mayo might be something, but we know clearly Vrabel is amazing. We know that the guy from Detroit, Johnson, is extremely talented. And so you don't know when you're going to get opportunities. And it's risky because you could find out that hey, the other side of the fence appears better than it really is. But Mayo hasn't really shown a ton. And here's the biggest problem with Mayo. And even with Vrabel, Ben Johnson would come in and be your offensive coordinator. And at least with Ben Johnson, you wouldn't have to go find offensive coordinators. And you would have Mayo, your quarterback, paired with an offensive coordinator. For me, Vrabel wouldn't be the play because then there's the main thing you got to build off is this quarterback. And would Vrabel be able to find OC? And then would he be able to keep that OC?
I think Vrabel, real quick, I think Vrabel takes, and I'm not saying this is good or bad. I think Vrabel takes McDaniels, and at the very least, again, I'm not saying whether this is a good hire or not, but a good part of it, like a positive of that, is if Vrabel hires McDaniels, nobody's taking McDaniels as their head coach. So you know that if you hire Josh McDaniels as your offensive coordinator, you're safe. No one's
that's
going
a
to hire
very
him
good. Yeah, no, he's not going. He's done.
Yeah.
His time as head coach is done.
He's still in the area too.
I love Vrabel. I don't even know if I trust McDaniels to be an OC though. I mean, I don't even know if I.
But
trust
he's done.
He made Matt.
Yeah,
Jones
but he's done.
Bowler, man.
No, he's a great.
He's done. Yes, and some coaches are meant to be where they're position coaches. Like some are just not meant to be head coaches, but they're meant for that like OC or DC. Some are just better fitted that way. But I will say this to Captain D, and I somewhat agree with Captain D and somewhat I don't. I've always been on the thing where you give a coach or a quarterback at least 3 years, especially a coach, like because you got to give time for a team to develop under that coach. It's kind of unfair to like pull the rug after 1 year, especially on a rebuild, because really that's what you guys are right now. You're a rebuilding team with a rookie quarterback with nobody next to him, no help. And this year coming up, you're going to have all that draft. You're going to have draft capital. You're going to have money to spend in free agency. So you really don't know. It's kind of unfair, and I get where Captain is going to like say you don't know yet what this coach can do once you get those players in place. Like I get it, but I also go on the other side of the fence where sometimes, man, like especially now, like if you draft a quarterback and let's just say he's an early pick, and we go back to the Arizona days of Josh Rosen. You know what? If it's not meant to be, I get it. Sometimes teams go, you just got to pull that rug and you got to go, hey, we fucked up. We made the wrong decision. He's not the guy. There's been coaches that have been fired after one season, and it was absolutely the right decision. Now, I don't know your coach that well. I don't know how long he's been in the league as far as coaching goes, like what kind of experience he has.
He started so that's here not in a lot. 2019 as a linebackers coach, and his last year he was kind of an unofficial co-defensive coordinator, and Bill Belichick was the head coach. So, like, not really
I would say this: I wouldn't be opposed of. No, that's all right. If I'm a Patriots fan, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back to at least see what he could do year 2 with with draft picks and free agents. Like, so I personally, if I'm a Patriots fan, I would bring Mayo back at least 1 year. I think he deserves that, and I don't think he would. I don't think he would hurt the development of, because I always say that too. Bad coaching staff can hurt the development of a young quarterback. But if you look at your quarterback so far, he hasn't been hurt. Like May's actually looked very well. So I don't see his development taking, going a back seat under Mayo as head coach. So if I were you guys, I wouldn't jump the gun with the head coach. I would build around this kid, get the free agents you need to get, draft the right players, and then if it's a disaster next year, if Mayo can't figure it out, if the same things are going on behind the scenes, behind closed doors, your team's just not playing up to standard, I totally get it. Then your owner needs to go, you know what? Maybe he is not the guy. And I know that sucks, but you're still going to have the young coach in place. You're still going to have a team in place for your coach to come in, whoever it is, after next year and go from there. Like, I don't.
You got to build a culture, right? At least try a culture for 2 years.
I would at least try one more year. Like, I don't think. But yet, I'm not a Patriots fan. I don't know what happens. Like, I don't follow them religiously.
A few things, if I mean, I have like.
Yeah, go ahead. It's your team. That's no go.
I know we're gonna be on this topic for a while because I have so much stuff to say about this. Nothing nothing against you guys, obviously. But look, I am seeing the reports on this team every day. I am watching this team every week. Seeing the interviews, seeing players throwing some of the coaches under the bus, players who never really do that and did that in the past. It's gone. The locker room is gone. The team is gone. Everything about it is awful. Again, not just like you guys specifically, Patriots fans, anybody who watches the team can vouch for this. Nobody can name one thing that Jerod Mayo does well. There is nothing.
I don't watch your team, so I can't. I'm not going to comment on that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a Patriots guy, so
look, I get it. If I was seeing, the Jets, the Bills, the Dolphins, who any other 31 NFL franchises, if I saw them potentially firing a first-year head coach, I'd also think that's stupid. You got to give them 2 years. But there's legitimately not a single thing that Jerod Mayo does well. That's why Patriots fans want him out. There's nothing that anybody has been able to point to. Maybe you can say how he developed or how he handled the Drake May situation, but that's also not anything in the present anymore. That was in the past. That was also likely more of an Alex Van Pelt, Ben McAdoo type of situation rather than what Mayo specifically did. Maybe you can say that, but again, that is not something next year he's going to be doing well in the future. That is something that he kind of did decently like 10 weeks ago. Moving on.
Yeah.
As Anthony said, you got to be proactive, right? This NFL coaching search, in my opinion, is one of the best that we've seen in a long time. You have Mike Vrabel, Coach of the Year. You have Ben Johnson, who I love. I think he's going to be great. I don't love everything that they do in Detroit. Like, I kind of really strongly dislike Dan Campbell's, always go for it on fourth down mentality. But I think from a game plan perspective, they are far and away, not far and away. I think they're the best team in the NFL, if not the second best, behind, if they're second best, behind the Minnesota Vikings and Brian Flores. And I know that might get some reactions out of the two Dolphins.
Yeah, you're right.
but
Captain D, really he does not like Flores.
I think Flores was a good head coach. I think he would be a good head coach again if he were to come back and let him do his thing.
How long was sorry to cut y'all. How long was Flores your coach for Captain D?
I believe it was like 3 years.
Was he 3 years? Curtis, 3 years? Okay. I was just curious how long it was.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The Vikings this year, especially their defense, I mean, Kevin O'Connell is more than likely going to win Coach of the Year. And I don't think that that's only because of him. That is because of him and his coaching staff and that defensive coordinator who, again, has probably been the best defensive coordinator in the NFL this season. Maybe bring a guy like Josh McCown around to help continue to develop Drake May. Look, I'm not Robert Kraft. I'm not the one interviewing these guys. But I think that those three, Vrabel, Flores, and Ben Johnson, all are very, very good candidates and significantly better candidates than Jerod Mayo.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I even throw Monken in the books. I put Cohen from.
You can throw 10 more guys
in. There's a lot of
and
options
say,
out there. Especially when you have a young quarterback. I mean, that's what you really got to look at here is kind of get with the NFL's program and play some offense and have this quarterback develop under somebody who's already shown that they can develop quarterbacks. I mean, we saw Liam Cohen do fantastic things this year with Baker Mayfield, a guy that's been, I mean, obviously it's the second year because Canales was there last year, but you're seeing a guy that has been able to get the best out of Baker Mayfield. Ben Johnson, that offense is high rolling, and they look like they're prepared every week. I gotta say I'm with Zach on this one. I think Rod Mayo has not shown enough really to say, let's give him another shot.
You also don't. I mean, I don't know what. Like I said, we don't know, and I don't know. I mean, Zach covers his team more than we do. Obviously, we all cover our own personal teams than most of us, so we have more say or whatever. We know more what's going on. But I mean, did Mayo lose the team? Like, you know what I mean? Like certain things like that. If he lost a team, or if ownership and him aren't, or in the GM whatever aren't on the same page, then maybe it's time. I get that. But if the reasoning is just like, it's a bad season or whatever, like you got to give him at least one more year to develop, not even develop, to get pieces around that team, because we all knew, like you said, this was a 4 to 5 win team this season, right? There was no high expectations for the Patriots, correct? So we know that. You knew that. I think everybody knew that. The surprise really is we didn't expect May to be thrown in the mix early as he did. He's looked pretty damn good. Yes. And like, I just feel like I'm with Captain D in this one. I do think you need to give him one more shot for at least one more year. I think it would be really unfair, but at the same time, bro, it's the owner's decision. If he feels like he's holding them back, or that he's not a good players coach, like they just, there's a lot of friction there, then maybe I guess that's his decision to move on. You know what I mean? Because there is coaches that just don't get it, or just not on the same page with their players. So if that's the case, I get it. But
so to that, look, this is one of multiple examples, definitely. And I would say the most significant example, Anthony, I think you kind of brought it up earlier, but I'm going to go a little bit more into it. Keon White. Here's a quote in an interview that an article that he had with Karen Garigian. Quote, "I'm going to try to get through these next 2 games and then figure it out after that and see where the cards may lie for my future. I mean, anything is possible. It's the NFL. Anything can happen year to year. It's a production-based business. It is what it is. You just gotta go. You just gotta figure it out where you go. You just figure out where you go. Something's got to change. That's the way. Again, something's got to change. That's the way I feel at this point." Second-year player. When asked about that, Gerard Mayo said, "Oh yeah, I talked to him. That's not what I meant. That's not what he meant. I talked to him, not what he meant." Again, he said changes have to be made. After that, Keon White was asked about what he said. He said, "If changes aren't made, then what are we doing?" When he was asked what changes, he said, "That's not for me to decide." And then after that, he was also asked what he meant in his previous thing, which Gerard Mayo had said, "Oh yeah, he didn't mean what he said." Keon White said, I meant everything that I said. Every word that I said is exactly what I meant. If you don't think that that's losing the locker room, and again, that's one of multiple examples. If you don't think that that's losing the locker room, I don't know what is. You also mentioned how, and I kind of said this too, Tommy, it's not our decision to make. It's the Kraft family. Robert Kraft is a businessman. And when he sees Gillette Stadium tomorrow with, if they're lucky, 30,000 people, which Gillette Stadium holds about 70,000. If they're lucky, there's going to be 30,000 people there. Half of them are going to be calling for Mayo to be fired. Another third of that added on is going to be booing the whole game. Kraft is a business.
So can I ask you one? Let me ask you one.
Yeah.
So let me ask you one thing. What if you did hire a coach, and let's say you got rid of Mayo, hypothetically, got rid of Mayo, brought in a new coach, and let's say you win 6 games.
That's
right?
Improvement.
Do you is it after everything that you've gone? Listen, no, I'm being real. So 2 more games is what you expect to win next year. Would you be okay with that?
Well, they have 3 wins
considering
right now,
that you
so
probably
that would be 3 more.
I get
games.
it, but Well, 3 more games. You're right, 3 wins. But listen, man. So you're thinking Mayo, your head coach, wouldn't win 3. So you're saying he wouldn't do that next year
he'd be fired by
him
week 7.
building.
Yes, he'd be fired, and that's
wow.
The
So
next
I see.
thing.
So you're saying with the improvement of the team next year, draft picks, free agents, with the money you have, Mayo would go in next season and have the same identical record as a new head coach. Is it really?
No, not as a new head coach. He'd have to be terrible. I disagree. Here's the next thing
possible.
And I don't know that the Crafts will consider this. More than likely. Unfortunately, Alex Van Pelt is going to end up being the fall guy for this team if Mayo is not fired. And first of all, I think that is ridiculous because Van Pelt out of Mayo, Van Pelt, he's the offensive coordinator, and DeMarcus Covington, who's the defensive coordinator. Van Pelt has by far been not only the best coach, but also the most professional. He hasn't been having those stupid comments that Gerard Mayo has. His offensive players have actually been sticking up for him, whereas when you look at when the same questions are asked to players regarding DeMarcus Covington as offensive players are asked regarding Van Pelt, the defensive players have nothing good to say about Covington. They're just like, oh yeah, he has a good understanding of the game. Whereas when you ask offensive players about Van Pelt, it's, oh yeah, I love that guy. Super great, like amazing coach. He's really taught me a ton. Amazing guy. I love coming in every day to work with Alex Van Pelt. Again, defensive players, it's like, yeah, I guess I work for DeMarcus Covington. Cool. But Van Pelt was an outside hire. Covington was not. Covington is one of Mayo's probably best friends, if I had to guess. I mean, they've worked together for a while. He was a promotion from last year. He was a defensive line coach again for the Patriots. Now he is our defensive coordinator. So Van Pelt, who is an outside hire, will probably end up being the fall guy, which I think is stupid. But if that's the case, you're looking at that, right? Van Pelt gone. You're looking at well, you'd be looking at Van Pelt is gone. So then they hire a new guy for next year. Okay, now that guy, when Mayo is fired, which again, I promise you, if they keep him this year, he will be gone next year. Now that's 2 offensive coordinators in the first 2 seasons of Drake May. Mayo's fired. New head coach is going to bring in a new guy. That is 3 different offensive coordinators in Drake May's first 3 seasons in the NFL. You cannot have that. And that if you keep Mayo, that's what's going to happen. Assuming Van Pelt is the fall guy, which he probably will be. I know Roy kind of asked about it a little bit, what I think of Van Pelt. He is the best I like Jeremy Springer, the special teams coordinator, but Van Pelt is a much better coordinator than DeMarcus Covington, and he's a much better offensive coordinator than Mayo is a head coach. So it can get bad here for the Patriots next year if they keep Mayo.
So Captain D, we'll spring off you because I know you wanted to respond. But let's say they did keep Mayo, Captain D, right? And let's say Zach's right, and it's a brutal season, and they wind up firing him. Do you think then that they made that they did make the mistake, and they should have probably let him go and get a better hire? Or hey, you went with the decision, you should have kept him?
Not at all. I'm right now. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to compare the Dolphins organizations to the Patriots. The Patriots are in a much better position because they haven't committed fully. They've committed to. They drafted Drake May. They're not fully committed on a high price contract, but they have an upcoming pick right now, a very high pick that they can choose. But
number 1.
But what does that have to do with how the head coach did?
It has nothing to do with the coach picks, but you can continue. You have space to evaluate, to hopefully make the proper decisions. And that's important. You haven't committed fully and made all these big decisions and paid all these people. you can actually make proper decisions here. And you have a pick coming up. You have a possible, I mean, Drake May could possibly be a good quarterback. We don't know. We got to see more. And Drake and your head coach could possibly be a head coach, but it's going to take time, proper evaluation of the franchise, and see what happens. The right people need to be in the right positions to do that. But I think it's too early right now to cut your.
How much time? How much time? Just curious. What is your time frame on a head coach?
Another 2 years max. Another 2 years.
So three. So you're kind of with me on the 3 year for a rebuild.
Yep.
For a rebuild.
I'd be shocked.
So Curtis, what is your thoughts on a head coach on a rebuild? I'm just curious. Like, forget Mayo. I'm just saying in general. Let's say you're rebuilding a team. What should a coach, how many years should a coach get before you take that concern and get rid of him?
Depends. Like, so we had Cam Cameron. We got rid of him in 1 year because he lost the locker room. That's the key. You have to look, there's a lot of variables and all of that. You want to see an ascending success rate on the field, but you cannot lose the locker room. And the thing he did something very stupid. It's okay for Brooks to come out and say, hey, we're soft. He's one of the guys. But when a head coach comes out and does that and you start losing, it's a lot easier to lose the locker room than it is to rein it in. And say what you want about McDaniel, but McDaniel, as Dee pointed out, he hasn't really lost the locker room yet. And so for like a guy like McDaniel, he's in his third year, and I still hold out some hope for him, even though I see flaws on the field, because you have to have the hearts of the team, because it's a brutal sport and it's a pseudo combat endeavor. So you've got to be a leader of men in some way, some shape, form. I still don't know about McDaniel, but he hasn't lost them, but he's had more success. So you can add that in. But if Mayo has lost the locker room, so for me, Vrabel is a defensive coach. The best that Mayo could ever do is be as good as Vrabel. But that's a roll of the dice. Vrabel's already there. You know what you got. If I was Kraft and I could be like, okay, I'm going to get Vrabel, who I know what he is. He's a former player over here. I already know he's great. Or I could stick with Mayo, and then when I get rid of him, who do I know I'm going to have a good set of opportunities? So for me, if I'm Kraft, I'm going to grab the sure thing. And, I'm not saying roll the dice on an unknown, but if you can get Vrabel or even Ben Johnson, after that gets a little murky because you don't know. Ben Johnson, you got a pretty good indication. But for me, there's a clear transition to putting Vrabel in there, replacing Mayo, and you got a sure thing. Yeah. And if he's lost the locker room, that's the worst that can happen. You can fix like X's and O's and stuff like that, because if the guys haven't jumped off you, then there's time, there's opportunity. But once they jump off you, it doesn't really matter. It's all over at that stage. It's almost impossible.
So that's a valid point. That's a valid point.
One more thing here. I know we kind of stretched this conversation off a little bit, but I know Zach earlier was comparing, the Jerod Mayo situation to what Dan Campbell does. Yeah. And if you look at Dan Campbell's first year in Detroit, they won 3 games there. And I remember, obviously watching from afar their situation. When they were playing football, they, as bad as they were in a lot of football games.
Absolutely. You saw it. I'm with you.
They were really fighting to get those wins.
I'm with you.
Throughout the entire season. And you knew, I think they started off season 0-11, 0-12, whatever it was. You knew a win was coming. You didn't think this team was, 0-17 Detroit Lions. You knew a win was coming. Mm-hmm. Because there was consecutive weeks where they were right there, fighting for wins. Jerod Mayo, at this point in time, he has 3 wins as well. But it just doesn't seem like you're not expecting it. And I know there's been a lot of injuries, so on and so forth, whatever, on the Patriots. But you I don't know, from afar, it just really doesn't seem like a situation where I don't think it'd be intelligent to keep him around one more year, especially with a young quarterback. You don't want to screw up that development.
And I'm with you, and sometimes you see it in a coach. Sorry, I was going to say I get what you're saying with Dan Campbell. By the way, I thought Dan Campbell would have been a great option for the Dolphins when Dan Campbell took over.
He needed.
No,
I
just thought, but you saw it. But I know, but you saw it in him there, Curtis, when he took over as you saw that like players wanted to play for him, like they wanted like. I love that about Dan Campbell. Like that's what I love about him.
Like
here's hip hop.
Here's another thing that I hate about the Campbell Mayo comparisons, not just the like culture aspect. Throwing that out the door. Look, Jerod Mayo was hired from being a linebackers coach for 4 or 5 years. Dan Campbell, before being the Lions coach, had been coaching in the NFL for about 10 years. And had been an interim head coach before, and an assistant head coach. Yep, and an assistant head coach for the Saints. That is drastically different experience. Being a linebackers coach
totally get
for
that.
4 years,
that's
compared to being he was a tight ends coach at first, but then being an interim head coach where he had much more success than the previous head coach, and then being an assistant head coach. Very different.
Areola, Anthony, he has a message for you. Choo choo.
I saw her in the chat.
Go ahead, Zach. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's one more thing I really don't like about those comparisons. But going back to what Curtis said,
no, that's a valid point. I didn't think about that too. That's valid. So his coaching history isn't a long one, and he was really only a linebacker coach. I understand that too.
It's
that
almost
does play
like he was a run game coordinator who sat in the booth.
He was.
Yeah, I get that.
So look, Mayo again. His experience was. I'm trying to pull up the exact linebackers coach from 2019 to 2023, and for the last year, maybe 2 years of that, he worked with Steve Belichick. I believe the way that it's been phrased was pretty much like by the media, who knew more about this, was that Steve Belichick was basically the X's and O's guy, and Jerod Mayo was the one who was like commanding the room. But his most experience, like his highest title, was as an unofficial co-defensive coordinator for a team where the head coach was Bill Belichick. So you're not even Bill Belichick's the defensive coordinator, and you're sharing the lower level of that with another guy. That is the peak of what he had been before becoming a head coach. That it's very different from being an interim head coach and an assistant head coach. But going back to what Curtis said about Mayo versus Vrabel, I don't know. This is kind of like a weird, obscure thing to bring up. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this clip from Family Guy, but Peter Griffin basically is given a choice between a mystery box and a boat. And he says, well, the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat, because he always wanted a boat. So he picked the mystery box. He picked a mystery box because he's always wanted a boat, and the mystery box could even be a boat. Jerod Mayo is the mystery box. Mike Vrabel is the boat. Okay. Jerod Mayo could be anything. He could even be Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is right there in front of you.
Yeah.
And
I get that. Like I understand that point.
I promise that this is the number one coaching destination for Vrabel specifically, and really probably for any other head coaching candidate, because you have Drake May, who has shown a ton of promise, a ton of upside. You have, or you better have, the number one overall pick. And you have by far, yeah, I know, you have by far the most cap space in the NFL. That's like the big three. That's the holy trinity of football right there. You have the QB, the most cap space, and the number one pick. No head coaching candidate is going to want to turn that down. So again, not only are the candidates this year, in my opinion, especially good, better than previous years, but you are also an incredibly attractive destination for those candidates. Whereas if you wait a year and you burn some cash this year, and maybe your cap space isn't looking too great, and maybe you win 5 games next year, you'd be lucky to get there. And you're sitting at like the 8th pick. That is a much less attractive position than number 1 pick. Very good. The QB is the same, obviously, but that is a much less attractive position than number 1 pick and most cap space in the NFL. So they need to have some sort of urgency here.
And Roy, I would agree with that. Roy's coming in saying, does anyone think the Pats are in a better place than the Jets, mainly due to the quarterback situation? Yes. Not only the quarterback situation, but like he pointed out, number 1 draft pick potentially, as long as they don't fuck it up, and a ton of cap space. So I feel like the Patriots are doing it right. Now, the coaching situation is, I don't know. Like, I'm like I said, I don't watch that team a lot. I don't know what's going on. But if that's what they feel is holding them back, or they feel like they can get to another level faster, or, get to the, where they need to be, or, at a faster pace by getting a proven head coach, then that's what they're going to do. That's their right, and that's their owner's right. And I understand. I mean, listen. I think there's all great points. I think Captain D made great points. Curtis,
Tommy,
Zach, Anthony, but
Tommy.
Yeah. But my point.
But
my point. But I always have the best points.
I gotta go at 6:00.
No, you're not go. You're not going anywhere. No, you can go, Curtis. So listen, are you dipping out, Curtis, so you can say goodbye to everybody on the last show?
Yeah.
All right. So say goodbye. Say your last words to the AFC Shakedown fans out there before we get out of here.
I really appreciate this. Some people can say I'm a closet Bills fan. You know what I am? I'm a football fan. I'm a people fan. And I tell you, doing the Bills and stuff, I got to meet some great fans that weren't Dolphin fans. And it helped me see the greater picture. We're just a bunch of people living in this stupid little world trying to find some fun. You might have this team, you might have that team, but I really appreciate everybody from all these different fan bases that show up over here. And especially D's a great guy, man. I've been talking to him for years. Just a real nice guy. I really enjoyed time with D. He plays the good cop to my bad cop, although he's got a little bad cop in him too. So it's a pleasure. Anthony, I think you're a real good kid, man. And same with Zach. You guys both know football a ton. Really, really good at what you guys do. You got to keep it up. I know Zach wants to do it, real big time. But it's been a real blast. I've really enjoyed my time this year. And then Tommy, I really think of you as like a brother.
Yeah, same with you, brother.
You're a great guy, man. I mean, you're a real aces guy. All you guys are really great, but I don't know you like I know this guy, this meathead over here. So it's just been an absolute pleasure. I mean that from my heart. And all the people out there in the comments that put up with my insanities and my loud talk and all that. So I appreciate everything, guys. I hope you all have had a somewhat fun season. I'm sure the Bills fans have a lot more fun than the rest of us. Maybe we can join you in the postseason. I don't know.
Before you go, I do need a score prediction.
On what?
Of your game this weekend.
Oh, 99-0 is 75D chess. Are you kidding me? We're going to win this thing. We're not even going to need. It's going to be over in the first 10 minutes.
Curtis, before you go, I got to say, got to give you your flowers. Curtis is the GOAT. He's got great content. I love your stuff. I appreciate every time I'm able to come on here and share your presence. And you actually handed me the keys this year on your show.
Oh, you did. That's right. Yeah, that was awesome.
You did. And Curtis, anybody who's watching right now, Dolphins fans, check out A's Per Head with Curtis. The content is ridiculous. He'll break down film. I've watched it. You don't know that, Curtis, but I've watched it, and
That's nice.
I'm a big Dolphins head, and I've watched everything. And I appreciate you, Curtis, man, and nothing but the best this new year.
Yeah, that means that means a lot to me, D. It really does. I appreciate that, brother.
No problem.
So all you guys Curtis, have a great new year. Hopefully I'll see you all again very, very soon.
You too, brother. You be good. Be safe.
Appreciate you.
Thank you all.
No problem, man. We'll talk a little bit more, guys. We'll wrap this thing up soon because I know we've been on a little while. But Zach got on to the party late, so that's why the show went on a little bit longer than expected.
I had to go on my Mayo tangent. So
no, it's fine. Yeah, he had to go. Yeah, Zach was out there picketing the outside of Gillette Stadium. Is that what it's called still, Gillette? Right?
Yeah.
You're out there picking fire Mayo sign. It was awesome, bro.
I'm sure there will be people doing that. There's probably in that 40% capacity stadium tomorrow. I'm sure there's going to be brown paper bags over heads. There's going to be
can't do the paper bags.
I know.
Yeah, Anthony. Yeah, the Jets do that. Don't steal the Jets thing with the paper bags.
Everyone does it. Have some decency.
Jets love that.
Can't do the paper bags.
Jets. That's what the Jets do. Don't steal their thing.
Everybody should have some self-respect.
Don't do what the Jets do.
Come on, show your face.
Yeah.
No.
By the way, Zach? Do you have a fireman? Bill or anything over there? Do you have one of those guys?
We have this guy. I wouldn't call it really the same. Silver Bullet. I would say he's the most,
Silver Bullet.
Nice. He's the closest thing. He just paints himself.
And what do you got, Captain D? What's your guy? What is your guy that goes? No, that's bullshit. You have somebody that goes on the jumbotron. Get out of here.
We have a bunch of guys with Miami Dolphins skulls with gold teeth that are dancing around.
Oh no, that's what your guys are. We have Elvis, Bilvis.
Have you ever heard that Miami Dolphins song?
Oh my
god.
Oh, who's this guy? That's
Bullet.
Who's that guy?
Silver Bullet. That's a Silver Bullet.
Good Lord.
I would say that's the closest thing we have. But there's no fireman Ed in the NFL. It's just
no fireman Ed over there.
He's the only one. I guess
God.
One and only. The one and only.
Maybe Fitzy, but he's hired by the Patriots now. I would say
Fitzy. I just love these guys, these names, man. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Anyways, it was awesome talking about this. Let's get to the games this weekend and we'll get out of here, man. Because there's no need to talk about unless you want to talk about the Chargers 40-7 beatdown. Do you?
No, I don't.
Or no, you?
No.
Okay.
I talked about it.
What about the Bills 40-14 win over the Jets? You want to talk about that, Anthony, or you want to skip past that? Disgusting game of yours.
We were interviewing coaches. That's why we lost.
Okay.
Oh my God. I remember when I first joined. Tommy, you told me to say one disappointing thing about the team and one good thing. There's no.
You have any good thing?
There's no.
Oh, come on, Drake May is good.
And yeah.
All right.
Look,
and the Silver Bullet guy.
And Silver Bullet, yeah. Look, Drake May is going to play tomorrow, and I don't want him to because, first of all,
get him off the field. Get him out of here.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really been able to protect himself that well, and it's a meaningless game.
You want us hurting that guy?
Exactly. We're
going to hurt your guy.
That's what's going to happen.
Oh my God.
We can send Solomon after him, and he's done. He's toast. And then you'll have to stick with Mayo.
Yeah.
Because he won't have a quarterback anymore. Get him out of here. Yeah. Let us get the win. Put your backups. Who's your backup quarterback?
Brissett and Joe Milton. I think Milton will play.
Yeah, get Brissett. Get Milton in there. He's a good guy.
Milton hasn't proved anything yet, so they should want to. And Brissett's on the
goodness.
He only signed a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So they should. I'm not saying they will, but they should want to see what they have in Joe Milton and see if they have a long-term backup or if they just need to take another one.
Let our second stringers look good against Milton.
I think Drake May is going to start. I don't think he's going to play the whole game.
Big mistake, my friend.
That's how you get more fans in the stadium, though. If you even have a shot at it, is Drake May
there's
playing?
Not going to be
you were saying earlier.
Big mistake.
I would not. I would be surprised.
Big Jordan Phillips falling down on him. He's going to be done.
Yeah, I would be shocked if there are more Patriots fans in Gillette tomorrow than Bills fans. I think there are going to be significantly more Bills fans because this is also.
We'll be there.
I mean, I don't. look, I don't follow Bills ticket prices, but I'm sure, and I know that the Bills starters aren't
They're
playing,
not cheap.
but I'm sure that tickets for a playoff
You're
team like
right.
the
I didn't-
Bills are
God.
not that
Right.
cheap, and ticket prices for you can go on Ticketmaster right now and probably get seats for $20.
Can I meet the silver guy? The silver guy if I go?
Maybe, yeah.
Silver
I'm sure,
bullet guy?
I'm sure it'll be there. Yeah.
Will he
out
to
be
the
booing
pictures.
Gerard Mayo?
Yeah, wait, is he
I don't-
booing? Is fire Mayo by the silver
I
bullet?
don't think
It-
maybe.
like
Let me
they have like an ad, like
I'll
silver
check
bullet
his
comes out. It's
Instagram.
like ESPN interviews him. It's like I'm silver
Yeah.
bullet and I don't want Mayo back next year.
I'll
Silver
try
bullet
the
out.
social medias and see what he's thinking.
Silver bullet has spoken.
Silver bullet.
All right, so
Screw Mayo.
Here,
we want
you
ketchup.
can start talking
Yeah.
about the games. I'll research silver bullet.
so Captain D, well, because this Bills Patriots game, we're not going to talk about that. Let's get to the important game, and it is important. Dolphins, Jets. Captain D,
Okay.
you need the win. Go for it.
So I said this in the beginning of the season. This division is Dolphins, Bills, and this is what it's going to come down to. The picks are in. I've made them. Dolphins with the win. Chiefs pulling up the upset in Denver. Lions win. We're pulling this off. We're going to the fucking playoffs. We're going on the road to face the Bills. This division has been about the Bills and the Dolphins, like I've said from the beginning of the season. Let's fucking go.
Whoa!
All right, guys. I'm back with my silver bullet research.
All right, tell us silver bullet.
So this isn't directly a Mayo versus fire post, but
they got beef. All right,
he was not happy about the Jelani Tavai comments.
See, this is important, Captain D.
He posted and he captioned it
man.
saying maybe Jelani should just do his job and then he could have anything to say. But as a devoted Patriots fan and season ticket holder, we pay for his salary. So he was not happy about that. And I would be surprised if he's on the Mayo train. Silver Bullet is angry. Silver Bullet is
Silver Bullet's angry. It's like Anthony and the Fireman Ed thing going on over there. So what do you think, Anthony, of this game? You think Captain D's right? You think the Dolphins smoke Aaron Rodgers and the Jets? Ruin Aaron Rodgers' career with the Jets? Sends him packing?
Here's the situation. I personally feel like the Jets will likely lose this game. However, if there's a situation where if they lose, they can somehow jump up into like the top 4 of the draft, they will win. That's what they normally do. They don't tank right. That when they're in a situation like this, they're going to win. I mean, being realistic with this game, the Jets can win this game. I know Tua not playing is going to be a little bit of an issue there. I look back at this team and it's like, they show little glimmers. They show something, and I'm going to friggin' shoot myself in the foot here by saying it. But I actually do think the Jets have the ability to win this game.
Whoa, Captain D. Whoa. Go ahead. Wow.
Whoa.
Obviously, Jets are going to want to stick it to the Dolphins if they even have that chance. They've had absolutely nothing to play for all season long for the most part. It seems like ever since friggin' that, start of the season basically was all over. Aaron Rodgers' last game, going for that 500 there's a lot going on with this game. Being at home for the last time, even though, like you said, Jet fans might have bags on their heads and whatever have you.
I can't believe
I think Curtis might like this too.
That's our job. That's our job.
Might be the last little hoorah for you guys, especially if you're not in a position to have something to play for, where a win gets you in. Getting the loss against the Jets. I mean, the Jets have nothing to play for. They're going to go for on 4th downs like they have been the last few weeks. They're going to do everything that normal convention says don't do. They're going to fake punt at the 20-yard line. All this weird shit. Everything is going to be on the table.
Oh my god! I believe that.
I do have the Jets winning. I'll go 20-17.
Woo.
Gotta end the season with a win.
What did you have, Captain D? Did you even say a score prediction? What's your score prediction? I don't think you did.
I did not. I'm gonna have. Man, Snoop's gonna be playing. I'm gonna say.
Snoop, watch it.
Snoop's gonna be playing. Watch out.
Watch out.
Oh man, this is gonna be a tough one. Whew. I'm gonna say 23-16 Dolphins.
Dang. Zach, what do you got?
Let's
Big
go.
game here for the Dolphins.
I'm really torn, and as I'm talking about this, I'm gonna try to pull up the betting lines because
Talk to me, Zach.
Look.
It's close. It's really close.
Yeah,
it is.
If
I had no idea who to pick. I picked the over 30 points, and I'm nervous. Go ahead. Sorry,
if this were earlier in the year, and Tua were out as he is, I think I would go with the Jets. No matter what. But Snoop, or was it Snoop last week, or was it someone else? Whoever their quarterback, Snoop
Huntley,
last week wasn't bad. Which usually the Dolphins fall apart when they have a backup QB in. Snoop wasn't
looked
bad.
okay. So, Browns defense pretty good too.
Yeah, so that's what's really like with me is usually I would go Jets in this case. But I think that the Dolphins can pull it off.
Whoa!
Anthony, be happy, man. Path to the pick. Dolphins Browns are losing
but I understand
right now, but
the reason why losses are beneficial.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, you guys need a whole new head coach too, so it's going to be a new regime in Jersey too. So a loss doesn't. I'm gonna kind of circle this to the Patriots, but I promise it'll kind of make sense with the Jets. Usually, like I'm not very anti-tank, but like a win is more beneficial in my mind than losing and getting that pick. But when you know you're gonna have a whole new regime coming in, then it doesn't.
What is that?
Really
The fireman
matter,
Ed?
You know,
what is that? I heard
when you're
no fireman Ed here.
Oh, man, paying you a visit.
Sorry, Seth. I thought I heard fireman Ed go. What the fuck's going on over here?
But yeah, like,
talk about my Jets over here. Go ahead, Zach. Sorry.
I think that winning games like that are very beneficial to the locker room and to the coaches and the front office. But the Jets are going to have a whole different locker room, a whole different coaching staff, and a whole different front office. So they really have there's no upside to them winning this game. Unlike most, like, for example, the Browns, who are probably going to bring back.
I said if they have a chance to move up, they're going to win. That's just what they do.
Yeah, well, that's true. But
they tanked for Trevor year.
I think the Giants maybe pull off that win against the Eagles backups, and
they're terrible. I can't believe they beat the Colts, but there's no way.
I think that the Eagles
in Philly
to win that game. I think that the Eagles really want the Giants to win that game because if they can push the Giants to, where they're at 4 right now, you can maybe get a quarterback at 4. You're not going to be able to get one at 6 or, wherever a win puts them.
So right now,
So you think the Jets should lose?
Yeah.
They need to lose. Yeah. Right. What's your score prediction? What is it? Give it to me. Give it to me, Zach.
I do think it'll be close.
It's going to be low.
Yeah, I think Rodgers. Oh man, it would be so funny if Rodgers doesn't get his 500. He still hasn't gone there yet, right?
Get out of here! Make another documentary, you loser.
It would be hilarious if he doesn't get 500. Honestly, I could see a world where Rodgers doesn't get it just so that his first touchdown with his next team is 500. If he can find a next team.
Come on, Zach.
I have the Dolphins winning.
Yes.
I'll go. Yeah, I think that's kind of.
Give it to me. Come on.
Give me 16-10.
There we go. I'll take it.
All right.
There we go.
The game is being played
in New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
The weather will be 35 degrees at halftime.
Never mind.
Hey, whoa, hey. All right, so the most important thing is what's your vax status? All right, no, I'm just joking. All right, so
I might have to switch it.
I know you guys, some of you guys might not have gotten that joke. I had to throw it out there. Sorry. So, look, I think it's going to be close. I think all of us agree with that, right? Game's going to be close. I think it's going to be really low scoring. The Dolphins in cold weather do not play well. So, that being said, though, God, the Dolphins are better than the Jets. The Jets are so terrible. They're so awful.
Come on.
I can't. Dolphins probably win. I'm going to say 17-14. I think Aaron Rodgers does get his touchdown because they want that for him. He wants to ride in the sunset with 500 touchdowns. But it would be so great if he didn't get it. It would be great.
He's going to pass the ball 40 times, and 35 of them will be to Devontae Adams.
I do not like him. But, boy, I could tell you right now, if Captain D will be really pissed if the Dolphins lose.
Well, I think the Dolphins win. I think the Dolphins win, but so do the Broncos. I still don't think the Dolphins make the playoffs.
I do. That's the problem.
All right.
That is the that is the problem I have. So I do.
I remember.
That's where I'm going with it.
Earlier in the year, Curtis had said something along the when the Dolphins were. What was their worst record? Whenever it was really bad, right before they went on this winning streak. I remember Curtis had said something along the lines of worst case scenario is that they win a lot of games and still miss the playoffs, so that they're good enough that McDaniel doesn't get fired, but they're not good enough that they make the playoffs. And we're one Broncos win away from that. That could.
But I will say this for you, Captain D. In what year was it? 2017. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot the date. 2017. The Buffalo Bills had 9 wins, and we needed a miracle, and Cincinnati Bengals provided that miracle and an upset over the Ravens and got us into the playoffs. So. Is it possible? Of course. It's football. Any given Sunday. I don't see it happening. It's in Denver. The Chiefs are resting everyone.
Some Jets news that'll make Cap a little happy. Sauce Gardner placed on IR. He will not be playing tomorrow. So,
even better news for you, Captain D. So, yeah, you guys listen. You guys got to get the win no matter what. You have to be. It starts there. You have to get the win, and then you just got to fucking hope and pray that the Broncos somehow fuck up against the Chiefs, which I don't see. Weston, by the way, is a Chiefs fan. He's always been in here, a good guy. Yeah, because we have all our starters out. We're throwing the game literally. He's a Chiefs fan, so he feels the same way. I think a lot of people do. I just don't. And honestly, I'll be honest with you, Captain D too. It makes sense for. Do you want the Bengals potentially in there, or do you want Denver in there? You get what I'm saying? Like the Chiefs are probably looking at that too, going, I'd rather play Denver than Cincy or maybe even the Dolphins. I'll be honest with you. Like the Dolphins can get hot. You never know what can happen. But I'm just saying, I kind of get that, but I just don't. Boy, Denver would have to shit the bed, bro. At home, starters against all backups in Kansas City. They're not playing anyone. They have no reason to. Denver would have to just play a miserable game, bro. And boy, if I'm
anyway, just curious.
Yeah, who is it? I have no idea. I do. It's Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know that.
Which,
right.
I mean, he's not.
Well, he goes off 500 yards.
Yeah.
5 touchdowns. Denver just can't stop the Wentz man. Then it will be looking good for you.
You never know.
You never know. So guys, this is it. This is the last episode, and we're going to be missing some people next year. Zach, it's really one person. Zach is going off to college. Zach, where are you going to college? Tell everybody.
Yet. I've
before we go. Oh, you don't know yet.
No,
what schools?
So I applied to 10, 5 early action and 5 regular, whatever. I've heard back from 3. I got into them all. Rutgers and Quinnipiac, which were my safeties, in Penn State. My 2 other early actions are UMass Amherst, which comes out in like 2 weeks, and Ohio State, which comes out in about 3 weeks. And then regular. Look, I don't think I'm gonna get in because they have an 8% acceptance rate out of state, but I want to go to UNC, man. Chapel Bill.
That's right. Yeah, Bill. That'd be pretty damn cool for you. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
that would be pretty sick. I don't know what the odds are.
That would be pretty neat. I wish you the best, man. I do.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And then I applied to UConn, UMich, Clemson, and one other school that Syracuse.
Damn, so all those schools are kick ass, bro. Weston telling you my advice: get it done as soon as possible.
What was that?
So yeah, man.
State, you'll be covering future top 5 pick Drew Aller. That guy looks solid over there.
Probably, yeah. I thought he would come out this year, but
if he went out this year, I think he would sneak into the top 10.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's not there on mock. I mean, obviously he said he was staying back, but he's definitely a guy you
bag from Penn State. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see where Milroe goes because I don't think he's that great, but
I don't either. I'm not sold on him at all.
I think someone trades up into the first round, or he's a late first rounder. Someone's gonna get aggressive and pick him up.
But I also don't know. I feel like the trend, or it's been trending this way recently, is you either take a quarterback in the top 10-ish because you love him, or you take him in like the 4th round because you really don't. So that's the only thing that really makes me think is Milroe will also be at the Senior Bowl, so the scouts and GMs will get a little bit more of like an extended look at him. Is a team gonna fall in love with him to take him at 8, at 10, at 15 maybe? Or
some teams get desperate.
Yeah,
for a quarterback. I've seen it before.
Last year nobody thought Nix, nobody thought Penix, nobody thought JJ McCarthy.
Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels was a projected.
Yeah, he's a surprise. Yeah, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
So you can get lucky.
By the end of the year, he worked his way in there. But
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So guys, we're gonna get out of here, man. Zach, Anthony, any last words, Anthony? Before we go, you're going to be back next year. We're just going to be back at an earlier time, so we will run it back. I just got to find Zach's replacement. Thanks a lot, Zach.
My bad. I'll try to look. I'll try to.
I'm fucking with you.
I'll try to make it to some, but just
yeah. Listen, you're just like Trevor and Juan. You guys are always welcome back. You know that. Like you're part of the family now, man. And you were awesome this year. Like honestly, all of you guys. Captain D showed up so much this year. Like way more than last year. Thank you, Captain D.
Right.
Captain, we're going to try to get Captain D more hosting next year too, by the way, Captain D. So my plans for you, Captain D, next year is I'll have you host here on this channel rather than Curtis. But I'll have you host, a little bit more than you did. You obviously did it once this year, but you got your feet wet, and that was the good thing. Anthony, bro, honestly, you were awesome this year. Appreciate you, man. We did, once we get the time settled, guys, I'll let you know in the off season what we're going to do. But this has been a great thing, man. I love like talking to different you guys about your teams and debating and having this looking back and going, at time and the whole Anthony shoot. It was phenomenal. And everybody in the chat, dude, you guys rock, man. Scott Blakely, Weston, Roy, all you guys, man. If I forgot you, I'm sorry. Beth, You guys are awesome. Ariola Grande, which is a great name, funny name. You guys always supported this podcast. So thank you so much. We will be back. I was really almost considering not bringing it back, but it's too fun, man. And the people love it. So I'm going to bring it back. It's just going to be a different time. Same day, different time, probably 12-ish, 1-ish, something like that. So once again, guys, everybody, Zach, man, thank you so much. Anthony, thank you so much. Captain D, appreciate you. And Curtis, of course, we love you. And we're out of here, man. Any last words? Am I missing anything? Anybody have a rant or anything they want to spit out?
I got one last word. Thank you.
Go for it.
Thank you so much. Tommy, Mafia Sports Report, thank you so much. Anthony, great fucking job. You killed it. Zach, you got a great fucking future ahead of you, for real.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody does. Anthony and Zach, you guys are both young. You killed it, honestly, for the first year. Dolphins fans out there, come on. You're saying there's a chance. Let's go. Come on. Let's go.
Anthony has fucking 10 kids. He's not that young. You're being nice to Anthony.
Not that many. A lot.
I know I was kind of a one and done, but I mean, maybe like Gerard Mayo, one and done, but I really appreciate. I appreciate you.
Fire
guys
Zach.
Boo. Fire. Get the hell out of here.
I appreciate.
That's
you guys
the real
for
reason Zach's not coming back.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
We have like our exit meeting after this, and
yeah, that's it, man.
We're just being nice. Yeah, he's going to college. Go ahead, Zach. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys for having me on, and look, I had a great time. I know I missed a bunch. I had a busy year. Had a sick year too. I missed a few just from being sick, which was not fun. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me on and letting me just speak my mind a little bit about this team and about your guys' team, because it was a blast, and I look forward to it every Saturday. Hoping I'll be able to make a few next year if possible, but and if you guys will have me back. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see, man. Sure. It's going to be a busy year for sure, but I look forward to it.
I wish you the best, man. I had no idea, bro. When I first got Zach, guys, real quick, I had no idea you were 17 in high school. I really didn't. And then when we were talking, someone was like, "Bro, you look young." Yeah, he's like, "Bro, I'm still in high school, man." I'm like, "Oh, fuck, you're on it now." I'm like, yeah, "Bro, you're a bright kid. You got a bright future ahead of you, man. Do what you got to do." I'm not mad at all, man. Go do what you got to do. I wish I was, I could turn back the hands of time and do what you did and did it right. And I didn't. So go out there, man. Kick ass in college, man. And I wish you the best.
I'll try my best.
No problem, man.
Keep in touch, man.
Yeah, do it for me, man. Sure. Don't pull pull no BS. I don't want to see you working at Arby's in like a year or two. All right, don't pull that crap on me. All right, I'll be really upset with you if I go on through the drive-through and I see you there. I'll be very upset, Zach. Yeah, you want the Arby's deal, the 4 for $5? I'm gonna be really mad, dude. Yeah. Give me my discount, bro. All right, we're out of here, man. So, we love you guys. As always, go Bills. We're out of here. Peace.
Bye-bye. See, Peter, he's too fast. You gotta tackle me. It's B. You gotta press B. I'm pressing B. He's too fast. Going over here? Going over here now? Never get tired.